Before we kick off, the name pops up at the top of the screen meanwhile. She's a first-year humanities student, muttering she can't wait to fire a magnum in Guam, and honestly, she's dead set on that idea, believing. For a military otaku like her, the dream is simple: live alone, obsess over one hobby, and call that the best life. Ordinary thoughts get obliterated the second she turns into a tiny 4-year-old girl. She gasps in pure disbelief. One second she's just a female college student, and the next, reality flips, leaving her scrambling to understand what the heck just happened. Even in the chaos inside her head, she knows the name's origin down to the bone. Comes from Astrid Sophie von Oldenburg. She's a character in the autumn game Wish Upon a Shooting Star, and it's one her otaku friend shoved into her life in her previous life. After wiping out every single route, she finally realizes the truth that hits like a gut punch. She's not the protagonist of this game. This is the Prussian Empire, ruled by Emperor Wilhelm III, and the academy she's bound for, St. Satantia Magic Academy, is packed with the First Prince and all the other capture targets too. No matter which route you take, Astrid's the one who freezes the air and flat out tells the female protagonist she'd better not dare think someone beneath her can get close. She orders her to know her place and even slams her as a thieving kitty. Then a man steps in wearing that supposed kitty face, lays it out like proof, and drops the killer question: who does she think she is now? Now he slams the verdict down. Every wicked thing she's done is logged and written in full, and she's got to pay for her sins with her own bare hands, because if she doesn't, they'll rip her house apart and throw her out of the country. No matter which route you pick, Astrid always ends up right back in that miserable. She's the villainess who blocks the protagonist at every turn, while the heroine strolls into her rainbow-sparkled happy ending with her chosen capture target. It's done. Everything's over. Her life is finished. Or at least, that's what it looks like. Next, that's what everyone would assume her. My personal motto has always been simple: keep your eyes forward, because that's the only way. This is a wild world where swords flash and magic burns, an over-the-top fantasy realm so insane she doesn't even know what hit her yet. He's got magical skills so ruthless they can go toe-to-toe with the protagonist. If that's how it is, then she just has to grind her magic again and again until she kicks the dreaded bad ending right off the board. To pull that off, she needs the secrets from her past life, and she's been carrying them ever since. He's got a deep, real-world grasp of modern weapons, right up to the point where, from what she's seen, this world doesn't have real magic or any weapons that can go toe-to-toe with modern arms. So, before long, she decides to sharpen her magic right away, then weld it to modern weapons and smash the brutal bad ending that's waiting to swallow her. Inside the conference hall of her mind, every version of her slams a huge thumbs up, so when she tells her inner selves, "Raise your hands if you agree," every single one lifts theirs, and at 4 years old, she boldly locks in her life goals. First, she has to keep training and sharpen her talent and magic every day. Then she must make sure her spell work fuses into modern weapons without failing. Next, she dodges anything that could spell a disastrous end, and even if her home gets shattered, she still has to lock down enough skills to stand on her own and survive. If she pulls all this off, then she better be safe. At least that's what she's hoping for. She swears that this is her big turning point then. Right on the spot, she catches a brutal cold and stays stuck in bed for 7 straight days. Finally, she snaps awake one morning like it's the best day ever, determined that no matter what crashes into her life next, she'll steer clear of the bad ending because she's not the same Astrid from the story. Welp, no more dozing starting today. She's kicking off magic training, and that's where things get wild. The second she tries to move with purpose, she face plants over her own feet, and the panic hits. Did her child's body really start out this sluggish? We cut to her weary, dazed eyes as her father speaks coolly, telling her she can't even start learning magic until she steps into the academy, and it hits her like a punch. She's frozen, thinking that's way too late, because if she waits, she's convinced she'll already be doomed. Her name? Astrid Sophie von Oldenburg, just 4 years old, and right now, fate is already tightening its grip, steering her toward disaster. That crushing knowledge sits on her tiny shoulders like a curse, and she snaps, thrashing her head, furious, screaming that she refuses to surrender to this fate. No way is she going to be left in ruins. She's dead set on learning magic and blasting apart the horrible ending that's waiting to swallow her. That grit blazing in her chest, she marches straight to her father's study and raps on the door, because inside sits Paul Hans von Oldenburg, the current head of the Ducal House of Oldenburg. He's the Empire's Minister of Communications, untouchable, respected, and dripping with power and grace, and when Astrid barrels up to him, she blurts that she has a request. Her father narrows his eyes, wondering what she could possibly want, while he stays perfectly calm, As he flips through the documents, that cute little smile from his favorite daughter melts every last barrier. No father can resist it. She flashes a mischievous grin and blurts out that she honestly wants to learn sorcery. Her father leans in and reminds her, softly but firmly, that they've already talked this through. She's totally allowed to learn sorcery once she enrolls in the academy. Before any of it, she's got proper manners and the solid studies to back her up. Yeah, even her angelic vibe comes with receipts. Angelic's look doesn't rattle him. This time she refuses to budge. She refuses to quit, then snaps into action, telling him there are 3 killer reasons to start studying magic right now first. Even if her manners are flawless, bad grades would still be humiliating. So yeah, she'd better start studying early. Her father can't deny it, she's right. If she walks into that academy, already armed with what she needs, she'll be one step ahead of everyone in her class from day one, and there's no doubt she'll graduate as an honor student. She'll win the noble kid's admiration, and word of her brilliance will fly straight to their parents, so his name at court will skyrocket too. Astrid's father's eyes flood with tears as he wonders if she really wants to learn sorcery, because she's been fixated on standing in honor right up until Astrid's. It realizes one last shove will do it. She shoots a reminder right after. Tracks him down like he finally remembers the one time he admitted her sorcery talent. Her father confirms it on the day she was born. They measured her mana right then and there. The mana measure threw out heartfelt congratulations to the Duke the moment his daughter was born. When they asked her to measure her mana, the instrument shot into dramatic response, and then it blurted out that the amount was absolutely enormous. Back in the present, Astrid fires back with a grin. If she sharpens this talent from right now, she could rise as an imperial magician and maybe even become great. If she finally learns to control her power, she could protect the Empire from the dangers closing in on it. She can't help but hype up the Empire's power like it's calling her name. She mysteriously swears she can summon beehive rounds and blast enemies to bits, and if she can also heal anyone in the royal family if they get hurt, the glory of their house is about to shoot to brand new heights. The Duke's face darkens as he mutters that he's pretty sure he just caught some nasty, violent words. Then Astrid rushes in to swear he's imagining it, and no matter what, the whole tale is brutally tragic. So yeah, those are the 3 big reasons to let her study sorcery, and she's not shy about it either, because she eagerly blurts out what he thinks. The Duke lets out a heavy sigh, gives in at last, and finally nods. He agrees. Astrid agrees to freeze only if her lessons start the moment he finds a real, proper professional instructor, and once it's set, she practically melts with joy, flinging her arms around him and blurted out that she loves him. Then the story snaps to a new guy stepping in to handle her private sorcery lessons, a man who introduces himself as Wolf Vol Wirangel. He leans in and asks her if she knows there are 2 kinds of magic: elemental magic and blood magic. Elemental spells draw on the 4 forces of water, fire, wind, and earth, and you cast them by stealing power from spirits. Water elemental magic lets her pull forth torrents of water, just like he's showing off. Astrid lets out a curious chuckle, wondering if that water spirit can summon only crystal clear water, then he breaks it down. She explains that as long as it stays liquid, she can call it forth, and right now, his researcher partner is pushing the whole thing even further, to the point where they've pulled off summoning a flammable black liquid too. Flammable black liquid hits Astrid like a slap, and she smugly thinks it has to be petroleum, because she knows exactly how valuable that stuff is and she can't help craving it. He can. It jumps straight into the next discipline, blood magic, no spirit power needed at all, because it reaches right into the human body, letting its user heal or unleash brutal harm, and yeah, it raises the question of morality. Plus, it can seize control of a target spirit, basically letting it mess with a person's brain. Astrid starts wondering if she can crank up her physical strength, then Wolf steps in to explain. It's the kind of planes it can pull off, and knights and adventurers swear by blood magic to supercharge their bodies. Astrid's patience snaps when she realizes everyone else already spotted the same practical use. And still, blood magic is packed with mysteries, so Wolf pushes the plan forward, start with elemental magic, because it's been studied and documented way more. You're right, if she wants to build modern weapons, she's got to master elemental magic first. Outside, Wolf plants himself in front of her and demands she start by summoning the water spirit, and she locks in hard, trying to picture water, somehow drinking water. Reality check in her mind hits hard. Magic isn't perfect. It's all about getting close. And she grips that truth as it dives straight into the power of water and right into her very first spells. Since getting yanked into another world kicks off, who will? She rockets forward, and out of nowhere, a giant water bubble balloons in front of her, so massive she blurts, "That's far enough." That gigantic floating sphere slams into her thoughts, leaving her stunned for a heartbeat. Then Wolf snaps at her to erase it, stop fixating on water, and force her mind to picture pure nothingness. She obeys, staring into the void like nothing else exists, and the water bubble slowly fades away, and she's left staring in stunned silence because the whole thing feels simple, yet somehow absolutely mind-blowing. Wolf says summoning water normally eats up time, but since she's insanely talented, her spell flies out at a ridiculous speed. Astrid can barely wrap her head around it. People are praising her for something that feels ridiculously small, and it doesn't even help her build modern weapons. Next, Wolf fires up the idea why not try calling the fire spirit, as Astrid snaps into high energy mode and locks onto the burning flames in the image fireman. Surprise and danger crash around her with terrifying force. Wolf snaps into panic and begs her to stop, because the flames are way more massive than he ever imagined, like even a top-tier sorcerer would need years of training before they could pull off fire this powerful on their very first lesson. Then it hits every step needs to be way more careful, so they press on, calling to the wind spirit, and she can't help but picture the wind itself. Even linking it to the roar of helicopter blades, then somehow, the result? That's all you get, just a childish gust of clumsy air, nothing more. Life tells her that with this, she's technically mastered the three spirits, so now, as Astrid can't shake the feeling that something's missing, this wind won't hit like it did in her earlier spells. She'd pictured something so intense it could blast her hair flying in a dramatic sweep. Wolf explains that her magic is all about how sharp her imagination is and how much mana she pours into it, so he tells everyone they'll dig into real ways to control magic tomorrow. Astrid admits missiles and fighter jets won't take off on wind alone, she's going to need a way more sophisticated plan. Lastly, Wolf fires up earth magic and dares that Astrid will summon it with zero trouble, ordering her to shape it into something simple, then she be keyed. He locks in, eyes sharpening if that water spirit can summon petroleum, then maybe the earth spirit can pull up metals, and the idea hits like lightning. The thought snaps into place in her mind, and then bam, a modern weapon erupts straight out of the ground. A pump-action shotgun solidifies right in front of her. She blurts out in triumph, like she just pulled off the impossible, and the shot, a shotgun built for kick indoors, self-defense, and even crowd control, now feels like the perfect tool in her hands, and she's sure she's finally closing in on her dream. Right then, a voice snaps out to her so loud it jolts her, and she instantly wonders, who's calling me a small... A dwarf-like figure suddenly pops into view and snaps that she can't treat him like some casual acquaintance. Then he introduces himself as Gnome, the same guy who lent her a hand. Wolf's mind reels because spirits almost never show up face-to-face like this. He can't shake the feeling it's tied to what Astrid has just unleashed. Astrid's stomach drops. She can't shake the dread that the spirit clocked her plan to rebuild modern weapons, and now it's coming for her, all to save the world's order. Astrid's dwarf claims he instantly understood what the object was supposed to be from her wild imagination. She'd only asked for something unfinished, so he stepped in to finish it, then demanded she be grateful. Astrid realizes, just like she feared, that memory alone can't possibly recreate those insanely complex mechanisms perfectly. She tells him she's going to crank out even more of these later, and she begs him to help her again. When the moment hits, the dwarf can't stop wondering if her plans are really just the start of war. Astrid shoots back without confirming or denying a thing, while Wolf grills her about what kind of tool this even is until Astrid finally explains it's a door-opening device meant to punish the guilty. She's not fully lying, she just can't help doubting she'd ever feel truly satisfied with non-lethal ammo. After 2 straight days of lessons, she finally shuts everything down and heads to bed cradling the Duke, the first modern weapon she's ever built, and falling asleep in his arms. Duke's eyes flew wide the moment he saw her, and right after, her father's complaint slammed into poor Wolf, piling on yet another headache to her already unreal situation. Next day, Wolf hauls out a battered book and shoves it into Astrid's hands, telling her it holds the core rules of sorcery and to study it like her life depends on it. Today, it's all about digging into what's written because the moment she starts reading, she realizes magic isn't some random force. It's pure imagination. Picture it. And she can control the water's temperature she summons, or crank the heat up and down at will, with the only real limit being how sharply she can shape it in her head. She quits. She darts past the parts she thinks are obvious and starts digging for something much more specific, wondering if this is how they'd unleash a sticky flame like napalm. But the record is strangely silent, offering 0 hints of that kind of application, and it hits her hard. Building devices that act like flamethrowers or napalm bombs isn't anywhere near as easy as she'd prayed. Dread hit hard near the end of the chapter. She stumbled onto a warning about mana exhaustion, run out of mana, and her physical strength would plummet. And in the worst case, she could die, and then she realized she's sitting on a massive stash of mana, but it's not endless, so if she's really going to face that empire someday, she'll have to train hard, plan everything, and master disciplined control the scene. Sheen morphs into Wolf, and Wolf is left reeling when she realizes she's already flipped through the whole book done. Astrid just shrugs and says, the lessons are so clear she tore through it in no time, Wolf. People gush that she's incredibly sharp, and you can practically feel the excitement building for how she'll grow and shine next. For the rest of the lesson, she's forced to grind spell cards because the book says she has to. A spell card lets a magician trigger a spell on command. No need to conjure some perfect mental picture the instant the cast begins. In the middle of war, these tools are pure gold spells, can be tucked into cards ahead of time, so you can unleash them the moment battle starts. No guesswork, no creative thinking needed, but every card sears itself out after one single use. Combat magicians crank out these spell cards ahead of time, so when the fight hits, they're already ready to unleash chaos. They decide to forge their very own spell cards. A magician can whip one up in about 3 minutes, just a sheet of paper mixed with the hair of a maiden. After Wolf follows the instructions, she shoves a ready-made card into her hands and dares her to cast any element she wants. Naturally, Astrid goes for fire because it's still her all-time favorite element. He orders her to lock in on the card as he casts, then, right as she does, something starts to imprint itself on the surface, and she blurts out, she asks. Wolf confirms it's complete, and then he points the way like, so yeah, this is done, and urges them to test it. He tells her to grip the card in her hand and softly pour her mana into it, then it'll let her use it. Imagine it like she's tenderly pouring warm liquid out of her heart. No forcing, just let it naturally pour. It should feel organic and smooth. Like a steady current, she follows his lead and locks in on that faint, lingering pull in her chest, and the instant her mana slips into the card, it erupts in flames, igniting and transforming it into flame. A sudden burst of fire erupts and excitement hits her like lightning. She realizes just how ridiculously convenient spell cards are. Wolf even goes on to explain that she can fire one without clutching it in her hand, and he tells him something else too. She should try to hurl the spell card she made from afar. Astrid flashes a confident grin and tells him she's already put it aside, and then he leans in, barking that she should pour her mana into it the exact same way she did earlier. She turns to it again, only this time, she sends mana straight to it from a distance, and she does it without hesitation. Focused like a blade, then that far-off card bursts back into flames. Wolf grins with approval, tells her she's done brilliantly, and says the only thing left now is to crank up how fast she pours her mana. Astrid lights up and says she's got one more move she absolutely wants to try, then asks for a few more spell cards, please. Wolf doesn't hesitate, she passes them over instantly, and right then, he starts sketching an explosion spell in his mind, then threads the magic with surgical precision into one of the cards. After the infusion's done, she hurries to Uncle Gnome and begs him for help right then, the gnome. Gnome shows up right on time, lays out every detail of what she wants to create, and once she's done, the gnome gets to work immediately, driving until he's finished. He shoves the finished masterpiece into her hands, claiming it's the world's first bullet. By swapping plain old gunpowder for an explosion spell card, she basically forged herself a shortcut slug. Unlike the usual buckshot scatter, a shotgun slug rips out one single solid projectile, and it's notorious for blasting right through doors. Wolf fires off a question, what did you make? And she answers, it's a 12-gauge slug shell, the kind hunters use for the kill. With a wicked little laugh, she says it could just as easily be turned on to hunt humans. Curious how it works, Wolf watches as Astrid grabs her shotgun and loads She clutches the newly made shell and launches straight for the board the instant it happens. She squeezes the trigger and an enormous blast detonates into the sky. Force slams into her and she stumbles backward, though. She barely keeps her balance, gasps like she just pulled off the impossible, and when she realizes she made it, pure triumph hits her like lightning. With only a tiny sip of mana, she's unleashed terrifying firepower. That power hits like a truck, yet the recoil is a brutal problem, and she can't shake the fear of how she'll ever control it right. Wolf steps in and says the magic she just fired off was packed with outrageous power. Astra nods, but admits she's not sure she can pull it off alone. Then a spark hits, and she whips around to him, asking him to teach her blood magic. Wolf tells her straight up that blood magic is his specialty, but he warns her it comes with serious, dangerous risks. Astrid answers instantly, no doubt at all, saying she gets it, and if she can learn blood magic, then she can absolutely survive the gun's recoil. Wolf fires off doubts about her own mission, wondering if she really plans to blast that weapon again and again still. Unless he finally relents and agrees to train her, because once he does, they'll start. He tells her to start by hammering her physical strength first, and then everything else will fall into place. Blood magic is basically the same game as elemental magic. She just has to begin by picturing it in her mind. She can't just dream up what she wants to make better, she has to stay within what's possible. If she dares to push her body past its limits with magic, backlash will hit her hard. To build raw muscle in her hand, she should picture her fist brimming with power, then imagine mana surging through her whole body like it's coursing nonstop through her veins. It's basically the same idea as how, instead of channeling mana into a card, she swallows the spell energy into herself and circulates it from within. Wolf flicks his attention for a blink, and with pure thought alone, he crushes a stone in his palm. He asks if she wants to give it a shot, and Astrid practically springs forward, certain that if she pulls it off, she'll make it work. She could grind her way up to peak athletic strength, Wolf advising her on how to do it, step by step, like that. tells her to start with her legs so she can feel the blood magic kick in. Then if her running speed spikes, she'll finally get how powerful the enhancement really is. Astrid starts picturing a champion's body, lean, powerful, and built like a horse. She feels her lower body surge with mana, and when Wolf asks if she's ready, and she flashes a confident grin, saying she feels perfect, like she could take on anything. Could absolutely snatch an Olympic gold in her current state, him too, but he orders her to sprint toward a far-off fence at her usual pace to test how much her muscles have grown, then warns her, don't mess around, stay careful. She has to remind him again, don't dream up anything impossible, because a normal human body has hard limits, it can't break. She bursts into a run, and for a split second her body feels weightless, like she's floating through the air. The fence that felt miles away suddenly snaps right in front of her, then she bolts forward. She dashes so fast she stumbles past her balance and slams down hard right as she pops up almost at once and demands if it worked Wolf. Full Fresh rushes toward her, eyes full of worry, and gives her a close, careful inspection. Silently grapples with the truth he should have seen this coming, because that power inside Asterisk was always ready to explode. Meanwhile, she can't shake the thought that maybe she messed up because her body feels totally fine, and her mana flow is calm as ever. Still, Wolf leans in and warns her to stay on guard. Conscious, his blood magic is a two-edged blade, turning into poison or a cure on command, and it's all on him. His voice turns a shade darker, and Astrid goes silent just like that. He hurries to apologize and asks if they should try strengthening her upper body next. Wolf snaps back that she'll pause all blood magic training until her mana adjustment is fully dialed in still. She locks eyes with him, sparkling with hope, silently asking, "Can I try now?" With a stone-cold, unreadable face, the wolf refuses because if she botches the timing before she properly adjusts her mana, she could rip her own body to shreds. They've got to keep fine-tuning her mana with elemental magic first, slow, steady steps only, because with power this massive, patience isn't optional. After a brutal streak of drills and endless tweaks, Astrid finally locks in her mana output, tight, steady, and fully under control. It's a rough, grinding climb, but with sheer persistence, she finally squeezes out a real improvement, and then Wolf steps in and declares it's time to find out exactly how much mana she can safely tap. He braces himself and spreads his senses across her whole body, tracking every drop of mana. Then he snaps. Summon the water spirit and make the biggest water sphere you can. Astrid obeys, calls the spirit, and shapes the water in front of her as the sphere starts small but swells higher and higher until it's absolutely massive. Wolf watches her like a hawk, then tells her she's clear to keep going. The water mass surges bigger and bigger, swelling past anything ordinary. He starts to wonder, can she honestly keep this up without burning out? But Astrid doesn't look strained, she just keeps pushing, and that sphere keeps swelling until it takes over the sky above them, like a massive ocean hanging in midair. Astrid asks, trembling, if she should keep going. Wolf tells her to keep going, push until she hits her limit, but warns that if she expands one bit more, she'll tear up the environment around her. It's already dangerously huge. He slams it to a halt and tells her, stop right there. Astrid nods once, then expertly tears apart the massive construct, snapping it to nothing, so the water disappears cleanly, no destruction. Production drags on and on then, once it's finally finished, both of them collapse in sheer relief, letting out a deep, shaky breath. Astrid fires off a question, how much mana can she safely burn, and Wolf starts to say, he admits almost in spite of himself, with a rare streak of uncertainty, that he simply doesn't know. Because this is the first time he's ever faced someone who can wield that kind of insane mana, and he quickly apologizes for not having a real answer. For now, he tells her to judge her safe range by exactly what she just used, and even that starting point, he says, is already a lot. Astrid blurts out in disbelief, wondering if she's finally mastered mana control. Wolf snapped his head back. Mana control wasn't something you could tame in a few days. It took years of nonstop training and discipline until it finally sank into his bones, and even then, he kept pushing, refining his own control every day. His words hit her like a hammer, and she finally realizes that mastering magic is way harder than she ever dreamed, so much more than she ever imagined. Still, he admits she's picked up a ton about mana control for now, so if she wants, she can freely cast basic spells. Wishes Astrid practically bursts with excitement, lunges forward and wraps her arms around him, thanking him with everything she's got. The scene snaps to her, sprinting toward her father, breathless as she yells, "Can I cast spells inside the house, please?" "Else," the Duke snaps back with an instant refusals. Astrid's smile drops as she demands answers, especially since Wolf already told her she could start practicing basic spells. The Duke snaps at her, reminding her it's barely been a week since she started learning sorcery, and yet she's already itching to throw spells without any expert watching over her. He insists he's saying no for one reason: he's terrified for her safety. Astrid's eyes light up, and she quickly insists that if he practices magic, she won't have to watch him embarrass the family at school because honing his power will boost his reputation and cement his name in the imperial court. Then she drops to her knees and begs for permission, all the way until the Duke. The Duke doesn't budge, his answer is a hard no, and it stays there. Just then, Louise barges in, having heard the chaos, and blurt out, "What's going on between you and your daughter?" Astrid sprints up to her mother and blurts that her father won't let her use magic inside the house, despite the fact that Wolf already approved it. Then Louise cuts her. She turns to her husband and demands answers, and the Duke sighs, reluctantly asking her to spell it out. Reluctantly blurts out that magic is deadly, especially when a kid tries it solo, and he won't back down. His choice is all for Astrid's own good. Good Louise strolls right up, keeps her cool, and points out that Wolf is the expert she personally handpicked. If Wolf decided it's safe, then it can't be a threat because if he's really doing this for Astrid's sake, he wouldn't stand in the way of her growth. As all of this plays out, Astrid clocks it instantly. Her mother isn't just in her corner, she's a total powerhouse of an ally. The Duke leans in and asks Louise, "Aren't you scared of what could happen if things go wrong?" Before her mom can even open her mouth, Astrid darts in and assures them both she's okay, and she'll only stick to simple, basic spells. She tells him she's just trying to cram explosion spells into spell cards for target practice, and that if she wants her mana control sharp and locked into her body, she has to train every single day. She begs for permission all over again, refusing to let her chance slip away. The Duke exhales beside him, and finally, the tension drains out as he loosens up. He finally relents she can practice magic, but only if she follows brutal conditions, never slack on her mana training or her other schoolwork. Because her tutors are already fed up, saying she talks about nothing but magic. Wong pressed her to make a vow. Right then, she swore she'd pour the same effort into her studies. The Duke throws down one last warning mess up anything in the house or trigger a single dangerous moment with her magic, and he'll yank her permission on the spot. Astrid snaps back sharply, getting her father's approval locked in, then pride hits her like a victory anthem, even as she holds it all in. With newfound freedom in her hands, she kicks off a fresh plan dreaming up modern weapons to experiment with like never before. And for the Ratchet Fair coming up, she makes a vow in silence she won't just show up, she'll smash the competition. Astrid can't stop grinning after she finally builds a working 9mm automatic handgun. She even grips it sideways, fully knowing it'll spray the shots, but she's like, it looks awesome, and she's determined to fire it anyway. Standing there, gripping the gun in front of the scarecrow she built, she lines up her shot, aims hard, and pulls the trigger firing too. Straight into its head, she drives her senses through. Thrilled by how dead on it all was, she realizes she only survived the recoil because blood magic kept her steady. There had been so many. The cartridge kept glitching inside her magazine, but once she seized control of her mana flow, it finally clicked, and now she's smiling hard because she made the right choice by picking the Wolf class. Still not backing down, she snaps back into her test firing, ready to prove she can do this. She does. She doesn't just fire once, she absolutely unloads on that helpless scarecrow, turning it into a bullet-riddled mess by the no. By the time she's done, she's burned through every single round of ammo she'd cooked up overnight, and her mind is already racing. Like she's about to say, she thinks she should have made way more for that expo because that's where everything mattered. That whole experience was insanely fun. Now she suddenly starts taking her gear way more seriously, deciding the handgun will be her sidearm, which means she has to hunt down a primary weapon too. Naturally, the main weapon is going to be an automatic rifle, remember that. Remembering the disassembly she'd once seen back in Guam when she went shooting there, she's back at it once more, and with a fierce breath, she calls forth the Earth Spirit to help her out. Then he turns to her and shouts for Uncle Gnome right as a rifle blasts up from the ground and starts talking back, asking. Astrid sparks with excitement. The moment it happens, thrilled. She pulled it off and feeling her firepower surge again and again. And there it is when Gnome suddenly calls out to her again. She whirls around and bolts back to him, yelling that he adjusted this weapon too. He nods, confirming he did, and swears it'll work perfectly. Astrid can't stop gushing. She thinks Uncle Gnome is ridiculously kind, and even his dwarf-like form makes her think he's downright cute. Gnome presses her again, asking what she's really going to do with those weapons, because he's asked before, and now he's staring at the terrifying possibility that she's about to kick off a war or something even worse. Astrid straight up admits that if she had to name it in one word, it'd be war. But she insists this isn't a clash between countries. This isn't just a war, it's a one-on-one fight that hits her right in the heart, and she tells him this is for the showdown with the fate that's waiting to swallow her because nobody's getting in the way. He still doesn't fully get what she's saying, and she admits it's hard to put into words. It's the kind of thing that'd scramble anyone's brain because one day she's ripped straight into a game world and ends up as the villainess, the kind people fear known to. Rome doesn't mind building these machines at all, but when it comes to weapons made to kill people, that's a whole different beast. So he tells her, straight up, that this weapon is hers alone, she can't hand it to anyone, and she must shut down anyone trying to study or dissect it. That power inside the country sits on a razor-thin balance, and that's exactly why the king won't start a war. Because if anyone ever sees her weapon, they'd try to use it to tip everything over, and nobody wants that disaster. Astrid clocks that Uncle Gnome is planning years ahead, and she swears to keep that tech locked down. No one's getting a single hint. Gnome lets out a satisfied breath, tells her he'll catch up soon, and then smirks, calling her the girl who makes weird things. Astrid suddenly calls after him, introduces herself, I'm Astrid, and tells him she can't wait to team up with him. The next day, Astrid rockets upward into the sky, twirling mid-air like a showstopper before she lands smooth as silk on the ground. Wolf bursts into applause and roars his praise. She pushes the demonstration aside and leans in. I've got a question for you. Then she straight up wonders if blood magic can serve a whole bunch of different purposes. She might use those skills to stitch wounds or crush someone's pride, but what she's really after is one thing sharpening her reflexes until they're lightning fast. She imagines this world turning upside down where the knights start openly refusing to fight, because they're sick of killing people. If the situation got messy like that, a magician lady could step in and tell the villainess, the swordsman's crushed, he's taken too many lives. And the villainess would just smile and say, don't worry, leave it to me. She would stride up to the soldier, press a hand to him, and just like that, his mind snaps back into place. And she urges him to give it everything. The soldier's excitement came roaring back as he promised he'd take down every single one of their enemies himself. So basically, it's a kind of magic that can keep PTSD away, because without it, there's no way anyone could stay mentally normal after taking down that many people. Wolf tells Astrid the truth, yes. Blood magic can be used in those ways, and promises that once she hits high school, she'll discover even more wild applications. Now she drops to her knees, begging him to teach her even more. Now, Wolf admits it because he finally understands, since he can't really say no when she asks like that, he decides to start by teaching her how to use blood magic to watch her own body in real time, so she'll know whether the spells she's casting on herself are actually hitting the mark, and for her, it feels like that monitor vibe hits, and she can't shake the feeling that this world is way more advanced than she ever imagined. Wolf orders her to breathe easy, then to fling her mana all across her whole body. He leans in and orders her to scan the flow, tell him if anything's off, any abnormalities at all. This featured guy doesn't seem to feel a damn thing is off. He tells her to keep her mana flowing through every inch of her body, to zero in on each limb and her brain, and to check that everything's working the way it should. Early on, she checks her stomach, her heartbeat, and her brain. Then she lays it all out and reports. She swears she can feel every inch of her body firing right down to her organs, and Wolf's grin says it all, because her progress is exactly what he wanted. Then he promises he'll train her to sharpen her reflexes next. Inside the mana flow coursing through her veins, there's a steady current, and he demands she lock onto it and crank it faster. She takes it as a sign her nerve signals are speeding up, and suddenly she's sure this is the key to sharpening her reflexes fast. Suddenly, a gust rips through the air, and she shoots out her bare hands to snatch a hawk mid-flight, tearing through the sky at a crisp 7 meters per second. After she frees the hawk, she turns to Wolf and blurts out, "So, is messing with the brain really that hard?" And he answers, flat out, "Yeah, it certainly is. Even now, huge chunks of the brain still baffle us, so if something goes wrong, you have no idea what might spiral out of control." Astrid's eyes light up with excitement as she blurts out that she wants to dig deeper into blood magic and begs him to bring her more books. Wolf rises to his feet and nods. He promises he'll haul over higher level books next time. He cuts in and reminds her that, for now, she's stuck practicing to strengthen her limbs at home and she's not allowed to try anything else. She beams and tells him, "Don't worry, I still got my shortcut in." Then she grins and plans to hit another shooting spree that night. And honestly, Wolf Sensei may have spoiled her a little too much. Too much today. Astrid's running a shooting practice with a cute maid by her side, and this round she's determined to put the shotgun and the automatic rifle through their paces. Of course, she's already lined it up with an optical sight. The maid blurts with trembling nerves, asking if that thing is actually safe. Astrid grabs the rifle and shoots back that it's totally safe, just don't point the muzzle at anyone on your side. Target. With that promise hanging in the air, she grins and declares she's starting. Then she powers up, charging forward like she means it. She powers up her body with blood magic, steps right in front of the scarecrow, then she fires straight into its face. Astrid can't even finish her thought as everything erupts. She bursts into pure joy over the results, but that thrill isn't enough. She cranks her physical strength even higher and dives straight back into fighting, hungry for more power. She fires again, jaw clenched, wondering how long a 4-year-old body can take the brutal kick of a fully automatic rifle before it finally breaks. Yet she keeps ripping the air with heavy bursts. Meanwhile, the adorable maid stands right there, trembling on the edge of tears, begging for peace. Through everything, Astrid is absolutely having the time of her life. Out of 29 shots. She somehow nails 20 clean hits, turning her boosted strength into ruthless control, taming the recoil that even trained soldiers can't master. Do it. She's beaming, giddy with pride, thinking blood magic is pure brilliance and that her gun is just as deadly and awesome. Impressive, she's got zero complaints, and the only thing she still misses is the smell of gunpowder. The maid tears across the room to Astrid, panicked, blurting out if she's hurt anywhere. Astrid throws up a reassuring smile, swears she's totally fine, and rushes to apologize for catching her off guard like that. Then she goes for the shotgun, and the maid's fear spikes so hard it's almost unbearable. Strigg tells her not to worry once this is over. They're heading home and begs her to hang in there just a little longer. As she gets ready, Astrid flashes back to the truth. Even a so-called harmless rubber bullet can still turn deadly if it hits the wrong spot. She's stuck wondering where to even aim until, right then, men on horseback come charging in, sneering like she's nothing but a lady, and she finally notices. She spots them and can't believe anyone would hesitate to call her a lady because, honestly, she's the proper daughter of a duke, the maiden. The maid snaps that those men are livestock thieves straight up trying to steal. They tore through the duchies like a storm, and those guys were pure trouble, so the real play was to bolt before they turned you into a target. Astrid stays rock solid and tells the maid, "Don't fret, I've got this." She steps forward and plants herself right in front of the oncoming men, and one of them squints at her, baffled like, what's she even doing here? He smirks and says she's got guts for a little lady, then asks if the thing she's clutching is some noble's toy. Astrid calmly snaps, "I'm here to stop you from stealing our livestock because they belong to my household." That man lets out a chuckle at the power in her voice, and when she drops the line that it's her house, the truth hits him. She's the Duke's daughter. Astrid smiles with absolute certainty and vows she'll defend every last piece of their livestock herself. The man laughs again, gloating that they'd rake in way more money by kidnapping the Duke's daughter than... He snatches the livestock, grabs her by the moment, and tells her she's coming with them, then flashes a dagger and growls that if she resists, she'll pay in misery. Astrid snaps up her rifle and glares him down. Like the words just got claimed, she tells him, point blank, that her mouth owns those lines, and if he doesn't vanish from her sight right now, she'll unleash a whole new level of pain on him. The burglar smirks and admits she's got cheek. Then he vows they'll kidnap her and wring a huge ransom out of the Duke. He orders. He barks for her to come with them, and the second he reaches out, she yanks away, pulling hard. Yanks out her rifle and braces to put him down. He opens fire, and the blast snaps everyone to attention. Then they sprint toward her to strike, and she takes. She sucked in a deep breath, flipped on her nerve transmission boost. It swings at her like a trap, and she braces. Then her thoughts start to spin as she realizes what's coming. Snaps into motion, dodges out of the way, then slips right behind them. Behind him, a killer shot lands with terrifying precision right on target, knocking him down. Two men go down fast before the third can even catch his breath. Then he barrels in from behind, swearing he'll give her zero mercy and barking for her to drop her weapon. His words hit her like a brick. Why would he try to kill her if the real game is kidnapping her for ransom? Without hesitation, she pivots and blasts again, dropping him too right as the fourth man's fury erupts, and she stays ice calm as she presses the question. Does he plan to attack her, or does he finally surrender and let himself be arrested? He barrels straight at her, screaming with rage, but she calmly pops off another shot, then he crumples to the ground like the rest. She flashes one wild thought, will that shot really flip his gender, though. The fifth man collapses into tears, bolting from the scene as he sobs. We can't handle a monster like her. Astrid calmly fires off her nerve transmission, and bam, she appears right in front of him, grinning, thinking it's downright pathetic that he ditched his own companions. She doesn't hesitate, she lashes out and drops him too, and with that, Astrid lunges in and wipes out the livestock burglars, throwing ropes around them and pinning them down. She huddles them together with the Earth Spirit rope, locks them inside the carriage, then snaps at the maid to drag those fools and their carriage back to the mansion, right at the Oldenburg estate is in chaos night. Captain Earhart can barely process it. Astrid just nailed the livestock burglars. Astrid storms back, buzzing with pride, and he immediately grills her, asking if she really pulled it off. She beams and swears it was all her magic. He's still a little stunned, but his smile says it all because she just wiped out 5 armed men and somehow makes it look like magic too. He can't help but recognize how far she's come. Astrid drops to the ground in a single bound, strikes a confident pose, and declares with total certainty that her magic really is special after all. At that exact moment, her father barrels in from behind, a hard stare set on his face as he steps close. He's about to say something. He rips into her for coming home late, furious that she's kept him on edge again and again, so he slams down a stricter curfew and won't budge. Astrid snaps into protest, and the second she realizes her rosy, carefree life on the shooting range is about to get way more restrictive, she breaks down crying. Her dad shuts it down, reminding her those men were armed and lethal, then asks her straight up if she'd been scared. But she fires back that the fight had her so locked in that fear never even got a chance to show up. Year after year, the Duke watches her from afar, his thoughts settling like a verdict. The man who ends up marrying her someday is going to face a brutal, uphill battle. Even with the brain of a college kid from her past life, this new magic theory just wrecks her. It's way too hard, and she cuts herself off mid-sentence. She sprawls with her journal open, poring over this wild discussion about managing control inside objects, then frustration slams into her so hard she blurts out, "I don't get any of it at all." The scene snaps back to the earlier moment as she heads out to meet Wolf right there. The story takes off. He leans in and asks how he can help her today, and she answers with a question of her own. She asks, straight up, if someone can control the mana poured into an object, and deep down, she's obsessed with mastering how that mana flows. Up until now, she's had to feed mana into the firing pin every single time she wants to shoot, and doing it over and over is pure torture. One tiny miscalculation, and the bullet could fire way too early and turn disastrous. She's hunting for a way to steer the mana so it flows perfectly into the firing pin and straight into the ammo waiting in the chamber. Wolf says this isn't some impossible miracle, it's a skill. She already commands the flow of mana inside her own body with blood magic. So if she can steer it inside herself, she can do the same to mana soaked into an object, but... Still, he makes it clear, yeah, in theory it could work, but nobody's ever pulled it off in practice. In an essay he once read, he found the terrifying truth: if someone has a certain amount of mana, they can only seize and control a tiny slice of what they pour into an object. Bastard can't stop staring, but Wolf doesn't slow down for even a second. Then it breaks it down. The amount of power you can have is wildly different from the power you can actually control once it's transferred, and the real-world ratio is a brutal 1 to 500. Studies show if someone has 100 points of mana, they can only squeeze out 0.1 points to control once it's forced into an object. And even then, you need a full 10 points of mana just to pop a tiny spark from Flint. The diff is so huge that it makes the whole technique basically unusable outside the lab. Application: Astrid's jaw drops at the size of the gap, and she finally gets why it never became practical until it hits her. Like lightning, mana can't run through copper either. Can it? It's the kind of stuff people use as a mana insulator. Magic can't make it, and mana can't seep through it, period. That realization slams into her, making her wonder if the power's conductivity and control depend on the exact material it gets poured into. Maybe there's a material nobody studied yet, one that can smash manic conductivity and give you razor-sharp control. If she goes for it, she'll trip over a discovery so massive it could fill an entire cent with value. A knock slams her thoughts to a stop, and a maid steps in. At once, she's brought Astrid's beloved lemongrass tea. Astrid lights up with gratitude, praising the wonderful maids in their home, especially one who even went out of her way to stick close and accompany them. Accompanies her during shooting practice, and Astrid perks up to ask the maid for a few cookies, only for the maid to gently warn her that snacking before bed will make her pack on weight. Astrid raises her cup, takes a sip of tea, and thanks them again because, yeah, the maids are sweet, but their rules are just as sharp. Then the maid blurts that Astrid has changed a ton, and she makes it clear the master and the lady have both noticed, have lamented that she's grown less obedient. Astrid, stunned by what he just saw, he can't make sense of it. Then the medics step in. She used to obey her father's every command without a peep and never stir up trouble, until one day she suddenly snapped and announced she was going to learn sorcery. Not long after, she burst out and seized the livestock burglars on the spot. Astrid looks back and admits she tried to become a more polished version of herself than the one the game showed, but somehow, she looks like she's digging the hole deeper, and then she turns to the maid and asks, "Is there anything I can do to help my father and mother finally feel at ease?" The maid mulls it over, then leans in and says, "Maybe you shouldn't get so lost in your sorcery lessons that you forget the master and the lady." Astrid finally gets it. The truth hits her like a punch. Words. Her mom and dad are genuinely kind, and they're working every day to give her the happiest memories she can hold on to. Meanwhile, she spends every single day chasing spells from sunrise to midnight, and she barely remembers to talk to them at all. Like, if this is what you're doing, why am I the one thinking about magic? And it keeps haunting her. She's terrified she'll vanish from their hearts, trading her place as their cherished daughter for nothing more than the Duke's daughter in name alone. And if she ever got kicked out, she'd lose her chance to study under Wolf and get locked out of school forever. Realizing this wasn't some small problem, Astrid clenched her jaw and decided she had to act, and she had to act now. The maid nods with full conviction, and Astrid boldly swears that starting tomorrow she'll remake herself, just to put a smile back on her father and mother. The maid beams at her determination and urges her to start right now, because the date has flipped. It's technically a brand new day, yet it's already way too deep into the night. And so the 4-year-old villainess slips into sleep, her resolve still burning softly in her heart the next. Next morning, Astrid marches up to her father and calls his name, and the Duke instantly snaps to the conclusion that she's back to rattle on about sorcery, shutting her down before she can even finish, because in his eyes it's nothing but her selfish obsession. Astrid clocks that he's already treating her like a problem kid, and she fires back a reminder to herself, you sow it, and you reap it. She calmly tells the Duke, this time, it's not sorcery, it's about my father and my mother. The moment she says it, the Duke's curiosity flares just a little, and her mom keeps smiling in that same soft, steady way. That smile still stays locked and unreadable from Astrid's side, and it sends a chill down her spine. Astrid can't be seen. She finally admits that chasing sorcery has swallowed her whole. She's been ignoring what matters most, and it's her father who hired Wolf for her in the first place. Thanks to both her dad and mom, she's managed to live a pretty peaceful life. Still, she's been so buried in her studies that she hasn't even bothered to talk to them the right way, and she can't hide the fact that she's ashamed of herself. The Duke's smile widens because she finally gets it right, then Astrid. Astrid can't stop staring at how plain, honest, and straightforward her father is. While her mother keeps smiling softly, like she's hiding every secret in her bones, Astrid can't read a single thing in her face. She has no idea what her mother's thinking, and it only makes her feel more trapped. Astrid Then she tells them that if they finally get a day off, she wants to spend it with her dad, making up for every second she's lost, and she's hoping to be able to see both her father and her mother too, the Dukra. Republic shoots back that his next day off is already locked in. He's going hunting with the ministers, and the moment Astrid hears hunting, her eyes light up, and she practically begs him to let her go with him. The Duke tells her, you can come, but warns that the whole trip is packed with nonstop talk because he's sure she'll hate it. For Astrid, hunting isn't just sport, it's her shot at a real, living target and the survival lessons she craves, where she can picture herself from prepping a caught animal all the way to bearing it the right way. She demands that since he's her dad, she wants to go no matter what, because nothing matters more than getting time with him. With him, the Duke, practically glowing, whips around to Louise and asks what she thinks. Then she just flashes her usual calm smile and says she'll join them too. The Duke slams the decision down and declares the plan is final, then orders his horses readied and tells Astrid to pick one for herself, but she flashes her father's affection right back at him, saying she'd love to choose the horse together, side by side. The Duke is totally captivated by her request, and then he can't help but gush, thinking his daughter is absolutely adorable. At the ranch, the Duke leans in and tells her to grab a pony because riding a pony will be way easier for her. But Astrid suddenly screams that the horse is trying to throw her off right in front of the Duke. The Duke tells her to go all in, promising her that the moment she finally pins it down, that animal will stop fighting and start obeying her. Astrid finally clocks the brutal truth: if she wants this to work, she'll have to tap into blood magic. That tiny pony lets out a sharp, loud neigh, then rockets into a sprint, and the Duke immediately tells her, careful, its nervous system isn't used to mana exposure, so it could spook. Astrid brushes off the worry and steels herself. She's determined to prove her sorcery hits harder than the pony's stubborn resistance. Distant, she slams her palm down and unleashes blood magic, because the fight still isn't finished. Continues, and the pony digs in its hooves, dead set on thinking that it still wears its pride like armor, and it refuses to be beaten by some kid. He refuses to let her go. He'll shake her off no matter what it takes. In the end, the little pony gets wiped out, and Astrid bursts through as the victor. She bursts through and wins, and then the pony quietly admits she's not half bad at all. Bad, and duking it out in strength with her felt absolutely splendid. Then the Duke broke into applause, and he closes in on her, praising her guts and effort. Then he tells her the horse is hers now, then orders her to name it right away. Astrid pauses for a heartbeat, then grins and announces, I'm calling it Horsey. The Duke hesitates, unsure of the name, then the moment just cuts off as the pony itself straight up says it can approve of it just a little. A little later, the Duke snaps that they should head back home before any livestock burglars get ideas, so as they walk, Astrid leans in and tells her father she can't wait for the hunt, and the Duke grins right back, saying he's just as pumped, because this is his chance to strut and prove to the ministers how proud he is of his daughter. Astrid knows she's slowly winning her father's favor, and she's determined to keep it going, because the last thing she wants is to end up tossed out of the Duke's household. Astrid decides she's going full angel mode today just to walk by her father's side. She calls out, apologizing for keeping him waiting, and asks if they're heading straight to the hunting grounds. He snaps back that they're leaving right now. 30 minutes later, Astrid suddenly starts crying because her backside is killing her. She leans in and asks, "Can I move into the carriage with you?" The Duke flashes a gentle smile and tells her she can, and honestly, it makes sense to get worn out fast when you're not used to riding horses. Then he nods and praises her, saying she stayed on for a full 30 minutes. Astrid stares at him, stunned, like, what had just happened? Did she accidentally win his favor without even realizing it? Inside the carriage, she collapses onto the sofa and gasps. This is insanely soft. Louise blurts out to her, demanding to know why she chose to go hunting with her father. Astrid says she's barely spoken to her mom or dad lately and she's scared that this quiet spiral can't keep going. She admits she can get laser focused on one thing, but she's convinced she'd be better off making time for her family. Louise flashes her usual gentle smile and somehow you can't tell what's really going on in that head of hers. She tells Astrid, "You're a thoughtful kid, even while it's the parent's job to be the responsible one." Astrid was the one who brought it up. Herself, Louise even said she's sure Astrid will grow up into a truly respectful person someday, and that thought made her beam with relief. Astrid can't shake the feeling she may have messed up her answer, and now she's got to earn her mother's affection too. She just needs to figure out the perfect moment to do it. Louise? Louise then pounces on the question, does Astrid really plan to go hunting, or is she secretly dying to test that thing strapped to her back? Astrid gasps like she can't believe it. Louise tells her a servant said it's a magic tool that blasts out loud noises, and that Astrid once took it out, then came back with livestock burglars caught red-handed. She demands to know if it was all because of that tool. Astrid shoots back fast, insisting it's only a tool one that just happens to make a lot of noise. Louise keeps going, telling her that the servant swore Astrid warned them stay out of its path because it was deadly, as something burst out of the hole at the very end. Astrid realizes she's in real trouble now because her mother has been watching her the whole time. She snaps out to her mom, telling her she swore to Uncle Gnome about this item so she can't even say a word to her own mother. She apologizes with raw sincerity and Louise gets it instantly. This thing must be insanely dangerous if even a spirit feels the need to warn her. She warns Astrid to use it with real caution because if she even gets a scratch, she'll miss her sorcery classes, Astrid. He makes sure she locks that in her mind and never lets it slip. Louise tells her to just try enjoying the hunt with her dad because he's so desperate to look cool in front of his daughter after all. And then she's like, he praises him, and you can bet he'll light up with pure joy because everyone knows he's always been proud of his hunting skills. Astrid mumbles to herself that she can lock in his affection for good by praising every single thing he's great at. Louise then insists, Astrid could be as outrageous as any kid still. We're not tossing her aside. That's just how parents work. Astrid gasped at that because her mom had seen right through her thoughts, and suddenly it hit her. Louise wasn't just scary, she was terrifying. Louise tells her, sure, you might not have a magic bone in your body, but you've got way more life experience than Astrid, so don't go acting shocked. Astrid leans in and asks her mother, can I become just like you someday? Today, Louise fires back that it all boils down to the experiences she'll chase in the future, because life is too short. And sure, chasing knowledge and sorcery is great, but she's also learning that mastering people is where the real power comes from. For example, she's bound to cross paths at the academy with someone who loves the same stuff she does, and if she can click with them, her life just got a whole lot better. Louise softly pats Astrid on the head and tells her she's such a good girl, promising that once she gets there, she'll make great friends. There, Astrid's heart starts racing the moment she imagines it, and the second she steps into the academy, her whole world explodes open. She won't be alone for long. She'll stumble into someone else who's just as hungry for sorcery, and together, they'll dive into the spells side by side. Louise chuckles under her breath and tells Astrid she's basically her father's twin. Same kind of heart, right out in the open. Astrid can't even fake it. Her heart spills out on her sleeve, and she realizes nothing has changed since she got reborn into this new world. Louise tells her, I'm totally fine just the way I am. And that's exactly what makes her so darn adorable. Astrid can't help but admire a woman like her mother, because even in this world, mom still knows best, and Astrid can't possibly beat her, not when she's never been a mother herself. Then the minister arrives, and tells the Duke it's the perfect day to hunt. Then the Duke smirks back, saying he thinks they just might snag something worth chasing today. Then they spot it, he's not hunting alone. The Duke steps in, proudly calls Astrid his daughter, and says she'd jump at the chance to join their hunt. Even though she's still young, she pushes herself to behave like a true lady, and bows politely to them, stunned as they admit they never thought Miss Astrid, who used to be so tiny, would now be taking part in a hunt. The Duke flashes with pride and promises he'll keep his eyes on her so she won't wander into trouble or cause any. Then he adds with a grin that you never know where the next arrow might come flying from. Astrid can tell her father's in a rough mood, but she still pushes back. She won't let anyone think she's completely out of control. The minister lights up and says it thrills him to see a young one taking part, because his own daughter would rather shop for dresses than join a hunt, and the other minister's son has refused too. They lean in and say, speaking of that, we heard Astrid's already started casting spells. The Duke admits she begged to learn, so he ordered Wolf to train her. They're like, wait, does he mean that Wolf who's crazy good at everything? Then they trade guesses, Maybe he's headed for the royal court as a sorcerer, or maybe he's teaching at some college. Either way, one thing's for sure, he definitely found the perfect tutor for. Then one of them leans in and asks Astrid how far her magic training has gotten. Astrid pauses for a beat, then tells me she's been drilling mana control and mastering the 4 elements. And for blood magic, she's picked up physical boosts and even basic healing spells right now. She's studying how mana flows inside an object and hunting for the perfect material to make it work. The minister's jaw drops at how far she's come. This isn't high school anymore. It's already pushing into bachelor level territory. The Duke snatches the moment to flex hard, bragging that his daughter's mana is absolutely top tier. But the minister cuts it off fast, saying that raw talent alone can't possibly explain it. Mana control is usually drilled step by step from elementary all the way through high school, 4 long years of studying it alongside the 4 elements, while blood magic only gets allowed starting in middle school, and this is where the real lesson begins. Objective materials that can handle mana control are usually a task for undergrads, and he even claims it starts to feel like doctorate level work. Astrid can't help but wonder if they really pushed that praise to the limit, and that thought hits her hard. Like, so Wolf must be absolutely unreal at... The minister then bursts into excited praise as the head of the court sorcerers, declaring that Astrid is a once-in-a-generation genius and insisting he'll have to demand she join the court as a sorcerer in the future. Rage instantly boils in the Duke's chest as he explodes, shouting, "This is the one thing he'll never allow," and Astrid scrambles to intervene. They try to make her father see that they're talking about the future, but he snaps back, swearing that even if it's real, he'll never let her become a court sorcerer. She can't shake how hard he reacts, and it leaves her wondering if it's really as awful as he's making it seem. One of the ministers snaps that idea is pure nonsense, saying the court sorcerers are the Prussian Empire's living pillars. Court sorcerers juggle everything from leveling up everyday life to defending the nation itself, crafting spells for the mission at hand. Basically the anime version of Japan's top researchers and their elite research institutions, right down to the fact that they're among the most powerful minds around. Astrid can't believe why her father digs his heels in. When the Duke shakes with every word, he insists it's packed with low-born nobles, and he's determined to push his daughter into a proper family. Astrid finally realizes her father isn't asking for anything small. He wants her to land a spot among people of proper bloodline. At that exact moment, someone blurts out that His Highness Frederick is about to enroll in the academy, and he'll be in the very same year as Astrid. Just the name Frederick ignites her anger. He's one of the reasons she was destroyed, and knowing he'll be there right alongside her rattles her to the core. Richard dashes to Funhofer and blurts that he has a question. Can she skip grades at the academy? Funhofer's eyes shine as she's completely sure her sorcery is up to it. Honestly, her plan is simple. If she can't stand being near him, she just bolts runs for freedom so Frederick can stay smiling with his heroine. Funhofer snaps back that he's scared they can't allow it because it would crush the pride of the other nobles. Someone else jumps in and says, "Since you've got the chance to be in the same year as His Highness, you should go for it." Astrid tries to shut that idea down the second it appears because it's the worst possible suggestion. She's convinced it'd be brutally insulting for someone like her, the kind of person who already calls herself a total sorcery idiot when it comes to certain things. The Duke insists there's nothing to fear about her pedigree. She's literally a Duke's daughter, and he even bets she could charm the king with her sorcery, while Astrid quietly pleads inside for her father to stop pushing her toward a nightmare of an ending. She tries to dodge the tension and blurts out that they should turn to hunting, maybe even snag a bear or something like that, and the Duke shuts it down fast, saying he doesn't think they'll even spot one. A super wealthy forest stretches out, packed with tons of different animals, no monsters allowed, because those guild adventurers hunt them down so often that this place stays safe for every hunter who dares to step in. Since it's safe, Astrid figures she can slip out and run a test firing. She's already proven the rubber shells against livestock burglars, but she hasn't tried the slug shells yet. The Duke leans in and tells her, "We're hunting with crossbows." He shows you, step by step, how to prepare one so it's ready to fire starting right now with the first move. First, she has to latch onto that string just right, get it hooked properly. Then, once she cranks it back, she finally shoves the bolt into place, though it takes serious muscle, and he even admits it could be tough on kids. But Astrid clings to a memory. Louise once told her that if she praises her father with real sincerity, he'll beam with joy in an instant. She follows the advice, breaks into loud claps and laughs. Of course he can do it just like my dad, because even if it looks way too brutal, he'll pull it off. Her praise hits him just right, and he flashes her a promise he'll guard her with everything he's got, so she has nothing to worry about. The group pushes deeper into the forest, and the Duke turns to Astrid, asking if she's tired. She smiles and says she's fine, then admits she's sharpened her endurance with blood magic. She's not just boosted her stamina, she's hardened her legs too. Still, she shrugs and says, "Anyone here, even a 4-year-old, could probably roam around for hours." The Duke can't believe it. He stares at her in shock. because at such a young age, she's already able to cast blood magic on her own body. One of the ministers fires the question, can she really keep a close eye on her own body while she's using it? That she can, because Wolf drilled it into her from day one, first and foremost. She can. She keeps soaking up praise from the head of the court sorcerers, praying that his approval will make him finally let her skip grades just this once. Right then, the Duke spots a herd of deer, and everyone snaps to full attention. Astrid. She can't help wondering just how far these crossbows can really reach, and if she ever has to go up against this country someday, their army will probably whip out weapons just like these, so she needs to learn exactly how far she has to stay back to be safe. The Duke raises a commanding hand and orders everyone forward. Every one of them looses their arrows at the deer, and one shot lands dead on, hitting its mark. Astrid first swears her arrow did it, but then she realizes it wasn't hers at all. It was the Duke's doing. She blurts out a fast, glowing compliment for her father, calling his shot straight up amazing. Then he shrugs it off like it's no big deal. While Astrid tries to steady herself, but disappointment crushes her when she realizes she didn't get to shoot. She notices the crossbow has no sight up top, and the bolt keeps wobbling in the wind so it feels clumsy and miserable to handle compared to a gun. The shot's only about 40 meters, but for someone like her, it's a disaster waiting to happen, because even that distance goes wrong, while her father and his friends make it look easy. Her rifles just can't. She'd nail a shot from 300 to 400 meters, drop the target like it was nothing, and you'd know she'd win before the match even started. The Duke strides up to her and demands to know what she thinks she's doing, claiming that win. She quickly plays it safe, claiming she was only hoping she'd win if she could just get her crossbow working the way it should. The Duke leans in and promises, I'll teach you how to handle it. And she finally starts learning the trick. Learning those moves won't hurt, especially when she actually loves fighting with weapons, and after a bit of training Astrid finally locks in and hunts down that rabbit for real. She shoots a heartfelt thank you to her father for teaching her the ropes. The Duke declares he's going to turn that rabbit into stew and can't wait for dinner. Then it happens, real soon. Soon enough, one of the ministers blurts out that they've spotted another herd of deer nearby, and then it just cuts off mid-breath as they're about. They press the Duke to take one look at those majestic beasts and push him to sharpen his aim. Then the Duke lights up, saying he'd absolutely love to hunt them, from a distance. And there it is, Astrid clocks the problem instantly. They're so locked into their game that they've completely stopped watching what she needs. She realizes this is her golden shot. She's going off on her own to test the slug shell. Without a second thought, she grabs the moment and sprints straight toward what she wants. Desires burned in her, and she finally chased the thing she'd been waiting to try. She sprinted through the forest, pumping blood magic into her veins to supercharge her body, but she just couldn't. Couldn't find a single thing fit for testing, just as the story was about to pick up right after that. As her patience snaps, her eyes lock onto something far off. She freezes mid-step, heart thudding, and can't stop asking herself what it could be. It could be, yeah, it's a griffin. That thing. Whatever it is. This terrifying beast wears an eagle's head, sometimes looking like a hawk, and a lion's lower body, and it's brutally ferocious, tearing into horses while even striking at humans when it gets the chance. Astrid blurts out the question right away. Why is a monster like this even here? In her mind, the whole point was that the adventurers would be wiping out creatures like this on a regular basis. Again, then the closer she looks, the more she hears a tiny voice, panicking, swearing up and down that it's absolutely not tasty. She narrows her eyes, fires up her blood magic vision, and suddenly everything snaps into focus like she's staring straight into a tiny fairy who's begging the griffin for mercy, swearing she's no snack and won't make a good meal. Astrid snaps her eyes wide with disbelief, wondering could that really be a fairy, the griffin? Griffin lunges to devour the fairy, but that tiny the creature snaps its head toward Astrid, shrieks for help, and calls her human while begging her to save it just then. The Griffin snaps his razor-sharp stare to Astrid, glaring like pure hostility is burning in his eyes. Astrid quietly draws her rifle now that the Griffin's locked onto her. Everything's about to go down. She realizes she's out of options, so she drives her body even harder with raw physical training, and then she steps up, planting herself right in front of the creature. In her head, she's already decided this Griffin is the ultimate test subject. He fires a shot at the Griffin, and the hit lands with a brutal impact. Only enrages it further. Astrid snaps to the truth, fast. The strike didn't land fatally. She figures her take the head move was careless, and she's already regretting going for the head without proper follow-through. Precision tightened in her hands. She snapped her plan into place and surged forward, yanking the rifle back into position with razor-sharp control. She snaps back into focus and unleashes another bullet, this time. The Griffin crumples to the ground. That bastard's heart slams with excitement the moment it drops. She's so tempted to blurt out, "It's completely down," but she clamps down hard, afraid she'll curse it. And the fairy? A fairy flutters in close and gasps that she's free saved, thanks to Astrid. Astrid snaps her focus onto the tiny creature and asks if she's okay right there, the fair. Fairy's eyes go wide with shock as she stares at her, blurting out in disbelief, "Wait, can Astrid really see me?" Astrid shoots a confident finger toward the fairy and says, "Don't worry, I can see her perfectly." And the fairy leans in and tells Astrid the secret: only a select few monsters and certain humans can spot fairies, and Astrid has to have the rare gift to see her. He asks for her name, and Astrid gives it, then asks for the fairies in return. The fairy answers, "Blau," and with a warm smile she thanks him, saying she's grateful Astrid saved her and Astrid's. He couldn't stop himself from asking why Blau was about to be eaten, because there was no way something that tiny could possibly fill a griffin. Lau tells them fairies are loaded with mana, and monsters know it too, so they come hunting, trying to devour fairies and steal that power for themselves. Astrid's eyes turn dark and unsettling as she can't stop thinking about it, how eating fairies lets you pull mana straight into your body. Even Blau clocks it. Astrid's eyes flicker for a heartbeat into something like a griffin's, and the moment Blau catches that shift, unease claws at her, but Astrid just waves it off, insisting Blau's seeing things. Astrid presses Blau for just how tasty she is, and it makes the poor fairy panic even harder. Astrid shoots back that she was only messing around, then demands to know what Blau can do. Blau grins and says she can pull off the stuff fairies do, and that making a fairy contract comes with serious perks. And since Astrid already saved her, Blau doesn't mind at all. Astrid admits she has no clue how that kind of contract is even made, and the thought of what Blau could demand in return makes her worry creep up fast. Blau couldn't sit still, nervous jittering, then asked Astrid if she could tag along, and she insisted if Astrid got the okay from an adult, they should seal it with a contract. Right then, Astrid's mind snaps. She realizes her father had to spot her disappearance. She immediately comes back right in front of him and tells him, "I'm right here," and you could see it rattled him because he had been... She's realized she was close enough to it that if he'd ever stumbled on the griffin's corpse, she would have had zero idea how to talk her way out of it. As he presses her for where she'd been, the affection points keep dropping and he's stunned she'd just vanished off on her own. Astrid blurts out that she stumbled on a fairy deep in the forest. The court sorcerer nods and admits it's real, then leans in like, and yeah, a fairy's now trailing her. He starts guessing maybe her element is wind. Astrid grins and answers, "Yep, Blau's element is wind." The Duke leans in and fires a question at the court sorcerer. "Is a fairy really here? Because I can't see a thing." The sorcerer bows and, with respect in his voice, tells him the truth. The Duke just doesn't have the skill to spot her. Then he reassures him. Yes, she's absolutely real, and she's clearly hooked on Astrid. Especially after Astrid swooped in and saved her earlier before Blau showed up. Thao's about to spill everything, and Astrid instantly clamps a hand over her mouth. Stop talking, before it's too late. She tells them, "I didn't do anything crazy, I just spotted that fairy drifting through the forest, slipped her a few cookies, and then she latched onto me right after." Blau murmurs under her breath that she doesn't remember getting any cookies. But Astrid leans in and squeezes her tight, pushing her to pay attention to the room while, under her breath, she calls her a useless fairy. The court sorcerer leans in and declares that fairies are perfect partners for sorcerers. Then he points out that Astrid's already got one wrapped around her heart, so he urges them to seal it with a contract. But Astrid instantly snaps to attention, greeting him with respect as the honorable head court sorcerer and she blurts out, "Is it even safe to make a deal with this thing? Will it steal my life or shave years off my lifespan?" The head court sorcerer fidgets and admits he's never once heard of a fairy doing anything like that. With that promise hanging in the air, Astrid tells Blau to sign on and form a contract. No questions, just agreement. Blau murmurs with ceremony that she, Blau of the Carl Kingdom, will team up with Astrid to forge a contract that locks their souls together. If Astrid dares to accept, the vow seal gets locked in with a kiss, no turning back. If she refuses, she ends it just by shutting her eyes. Astrid's throat tightens the second someone brings up a soul-binding contract, still terrifying as it is, so she forces herself to believe it. Fairies make solid partners for sorcerers, and she steels her nerves to decide. She leans in and kisses Blau right then. The contract clicks into place. Blau tells Astrid to take care of her from now on and calls her Master, Astrid. Richard can't stop thinking that she's finally found a real fairy and somehow pulled off the impossible. The others then turn to the Duke, whispering that his daughter might be destined to rise as a court sorcerer. The Duke shoots it down on the spot, demanding that his daughter be forged into the kind of bride a proper match requires. Right during dinner, he drops the bomb that a griffin carcass was found soon after their hunt, and the Duke goes, "Who dare take it down?" Astrid tries to play it cool, even shaking like it's terrifying, saying she's just relieved she wasn't the one caught, but her mom already knows the truth. Fairies are tied to the spirits like a lifeline, and if you're contracted to them, you can tap into that spirit power way easier. Wolf studies Blau up close, and right when he clocks her power, the truth hits her element is wind. So this means... So yeah, Astrid can throw wind spells using way less mana, and she can steer every gust with razor-sharp control, and that's exactly what they call the fairy's benefit. On a scorching hot night, Astrid can whisper to Blau to summon a soft breeze right up until she finally drifts off to sleep. She can crank the wind up past what's normal, make sure it doesn't keep hammering the same spot, and even stop it from blasting her stomach, so this makes it... Astrid can't stop staring at Blau like, "Are you basically an air conditioner?" She swears the spell feels like it's being quietly controlled on autopilot. Wolf admits, "Yeah, kind of," then adds that if Astrid tells Blau to cast something, Blau will do it for her. It's not exactly rare for a sorcerer to end up bound to a fairy, but nobody's rushing that deal yet, because they still don't know just how much mana Astrid can safely burn without consequences. She has to stay sharp because that fairy can be her best shot at safety. Astrid lights up when she finally realizes turns out fairies are way more useful than she ever imagined. Astrid leans in and fires a question at Wolf. Can Blau only control wind-based spells? He nods and tells you the truth. Each fairy is tied to a unique spirit with its own special affinity. Astrid totally blanks at first because with wind alone, she can't think of anything useful until she can. She's still mulling over wind-based spells when bam, an idea snaps into place. And she finally knows what she's got to try, especially if she can craft a spell that basically fires itself on full auto. Before they go any further, she shoots a question at Wolf. Can you even make contracts with more than one fairy? He admits it's not impossible, but wow, it's insanely hard. Fairies are usually super shy, hiding from humans and only showing up when they feel like it, and they personally pick who gets to become their contractor. If Blau refuses to be contracted with anyone but Astrid, then fairies usually, either they're painfully awkward socially, or they've got a hair trigger temper, and Astrid can't help wondering what kind of troublemakers these beings are. She snaps her hands together, already thinking, "Someday, I've got to go snag a few more fairies." She has. He stumbled on something insanely awesome, and now he's begging Wolf to check it out too. Wolf won. She's wondering if something awesome is really the metal that lets mana slide through it like it was made for it. But Astrid shakes her head, sharp and decisive. She brings her head to the conversation and declares, "This isn't that at all." Then, just to be safe, she orders Wolf to ready a regeneration blood magic spell, and she's not done yet. And she even leans on Uncle Gnome to lend a hand. Then, once again, something erupts from the ground, and Astrid practically lights up when it's finally finished. She proudly dubs it the Flight Unit Mark IV right after that. She tweaks a bunch of details and then stands there, totally confident, right next to it, and Wolf just stares, baffled, wondering how on earth she plans to use that kind of device. Astrid doesn't even blink. She summons the wind and fire spirit on the spot. Spirits surge and ignition snaps on right as everything cuts to. She jolts upward into the sky, and you can almost hear her breath catch. She feels... She can barely breathe as the truth hits. She actually rebuilt a giant engine with magic. And she's finally soaring through the sky. Astrid snaps her gaze too. Blau interrogates her about whether she's memorized how jet engines work, then reassures her with a confident nod that she not only knows it, but can recreate the whole mechanism too. Managing the flow and squeeze of air turns out to be way easier than anyone thought. If Astrid lets Blau handle it, she can go all in on the real operation. With everything finally locked in, she launches upward into the sky, still even with the wind elemental magic pushing the balance, the pressure still hits like a tidal wave, relentless and crushing. She used to dream of building a real fighter jet, but the truth is, she didn't know nearly enough about the technical side of it. Still, tearing through the sky at those deadly speeds and insane heights is a massive edge for her showdown with fate. So yeah, it's time to wrap this video up right here. Now she could unleash bombs and shells like a storm, blasting her enemies into the ground. With the speed and height she's at, breathing stays easy, and she's safe from any serious trouble as long as she doesn't start yanking the controls around. She figures they should land ASAP before the Wolf starts worrying, though the landing isn't exactly smooth, and she lands in one piece and pure joy crashes over her. She can't believe she actually flew through the sky and made it happen. Wolf comes charging at her, totally stunned, and blurts out if that magic is something she dreamed up herself. She just nods and says it's basically that. Wolf practically bursts with excitement, saying that a machine like this could earn her a PhD all by itself. Then he hits the brakes hard, warning that at that speed, one bird strike could slam her into a serious accident, and Astrid quickly burns that warning into her mind. Then she blurts out that she'll need a parachute too, and wonders how on earth she's even supposed to build one. Right then, poor Wolf looks totally clueless, like he has no clue what's going through her mind. At that, right then, a voice yells from off-screen like she's at it again, and she looks up to find Uncle Gnome. He confessed he'd figured out what she was dreaming up, but nobody, not even him, expected it to hit this hard and work this perfectly. This is something that has no business being here, like it fell out of another world. Astrid lets out a tiny chuckle, But Uncle Gnome scoffs right back, saying this is no joking business. She's risking everything tampering with the world's power balance and the very ability that keeps it in check. Flying power could have flipped the war in an instant, but she points out that when aircraft first appeared in World War I, they didn't instantly change the tide. Then she turns to Uncle Gnome and demands to know if her flight unit can really tip the world's balance of power. He cuts in with a sharp question. Has she really not noticed that cranking the sky's military power up could flip warfare on its head? Astrid thinks it over and snaps to it. He's right. With aerial scouting, they can map where enemy camps are in a full three-dimensional world, then use that intel to hit back. He gathered the exact intel needed to strike back with perfect targeted countermeasures. She tells Uncle Gnome, I get it now, then swears she'll use this power only for the showdown she's planning with fate and she's not telling a soul. Uncle Gnome smirks and says, if that's how it is, then yeah, that's fine. Wolf claps too, then leans in and says it's time to wrap up their lesson for the day, like she'd already burned through half her mana when he snapped to it. Turns out the researchers finally cracked mana controllability inside objects. Usually you can only steer a tiny 1,150 of what you pour in. But with the right metal, you can command a full portion of that mana. Astrid shoots Wolf a heartfelt thank you, swears she'll try it soon, and asks if she can borrow the metal. Wolf doesn't even hesitate, he agrees on the spot and tells her to come tell him the moment the experiment works. Astrid clocks it instantly. This is huge. If she can command mana inside metal like this, she's one step closer to forging real firearms. She explodes with excitement and demands they start digging into sorcery right now, because her showdown with fate is creeping closer by the day. Meanwhile, poor Wolf is totally stunned, like he has no idea what she means by this so-called showdown with fate. Even without meaning, she spends her summer days forging guns, then in fall she trains on the range, and come winter, she keeps firing away without a break. Just like that, time blasts past and boom spring hits, and today she's turning 6 years old at... Finally, after what felt like forever, that long-awaited day crashes in, she enrolls in the Academy of Sorcery, right where the autumny game story begins, and she won. She can't stop wondering if her power will be enough, because Frederick and the other capture targets are going to show up at the Academy for sure, and she won't cross paths with the heroine until high school. No matter which route she stumbles into, all roads still slam straight into an ending right there, waiting for her because as the villainess, walking into the academy is basically waving a banner that screams destruction and exile. And at this point, she can only whip bullets everywhere, but it still isn't enough. She hasn't found the power to rewrite that cursed ending. A maid bursts into the room and tells Astrid she has to get herself ready right now, that she refuses to step foot in school, so the maid... Jade's eyes widened. She starts to panic and demands to know what happened so suddenly. Because didn't she just say she wanted to learn sorcery at the academy? There, she could study to her heart's content, Astrid. But then he whips around and tells her the truth. She's actually really shy. The maid be... He's thrown off the moment he realizes it. Astrid has already bonded fast with Wolf, even getting close to his father's friend. Astrid swears it's the truth, and the second she has to talk to anyone, a pounding headache starts to crush her skull. Hurt? The maid leans in and softly says she might change her mind the moment the uniform goes on. Astrid slides into her uniform and it hugs her body like it was made for her. She remembers spotting a figurine of this exact outfit back then, and now she's realizing the truth behind it. Kate squeals that she looks absolutely adorable, then declares no doubt about it that she's going to be the talk of the school in no time. Astrid blurts out that she won't be fooled and that she still refuses to go until the maid snaps back, saying if she backs out, their contract with Wolf gets wiped out and she won't even be able to learn sorcery at home anymore. With no choice left, Astrid grudgingly caves and agrees to go. She mutters that if the house ends up wrecked just because she went to school, it won't be her fault. All she can do is stare in shock, wondering why the house gets smashed to pieces just because she dares to go to school. And just like that, Astrid strides up to St. Satansia Academy and challenges the entrance ceremony straight to its face. She settles in with the other students while her parents slide into the crowd of other parents. Then the room goes dead quiet, like something huge is about to drop. There is a great... Nobles crowd the hall, and yeah, it fits, because this place is an academy built for the highborn. The principal kicks off his speech and his voice booms through the grand hall. Then he declares that everyone here is enrolled at this academy to forge real talent, so you can rise up and help the empire thrive in the future. Astrid hesitates for a split second. Then a wild idea sparks. She starts wondering if she can use blood magic to make someone sneeze. She grabs the perfect chance to prank the old man using her own clever move. With her brooch in hand, she presses it into her finger, then she starts laughing under her breath as she sets things up, and then right as the principal is about to talk, he's suddenly hit with a brutal sneezing fit, mid-speech. Finally, someone snaps and tells her, "You can't do that." She stops dead in her tracks, heart hammering, praying nobody has spotted her. When she turns her head, she catches a glimpse of a super cute boy staring back, someone who could be one of the capture targets too, and suddenly it feels like the curtain is lifting on her school life. He's totally caught off guard, thinking he's unbelievably cute, and the rest of it hits him right after that. He's seen clean through the blood magic she's been secretly using, and now she's left staring at one terrifying question, who... And then the principal slams the moment into place, announcing the speech from the new children's representative, His Majesty Frederick. Frederick snaps upright and strides toward the podium, stunned by the sight of... Seeing Frederick, just him standing there, nearly pushes Astrid to the edge because it's him, and he's about to deliver... He steps up and delivers his speech, grinning as he declares how thrilled he is that everyone who's looking ahead has joined the magical halls of Saint Satancia. Meanwhile, a system message flashes someone's praying to a shooting star, and then it names the target. Capture file number 1, the first prince of the Prussian Empire, Frederick George. Born under blood magic, meant to save his life, he grows into that rare, stunning, silver-haired prince. On paper, he's perfect top tier in academics and sports. The kind of prince who fits basic princess ideals. But the closer Iron and Flame times get, the more you realize he only talks lofty ideals and his thoughts have to match his father, Wilhelm III, the king of soldiers, and now the pressure crushes him. Frederick's terrified of becoming the next emperor on Frederick's Day. In recent years, the military has been dumping magic everywhere, but the truth hits harder. Real magic means talking straight to the spirits of the elements, just like how humans chat with each other. They're standing on the edge of an age where steel and fire decide everything, and if they can reach peace through dialogue, he'll be ecstatic because this could change everything. Those words lit a wildfire of rage in Astrid. She clenched her teeth, imagining exactly what would happen if he tried to fight her, and then she. He stomps her foot, seething, praying he won't mess up her plan to fuse modern weapons with magic and strike destiny from the very first moment. She couldn't care less about a man whose opinions don't line up with his father. She only wants him to hurry, meet the heroine, now, and marry her. The moment she lays eyes on his face, fury surges through her and she silently pushes him to wrap up the ceremony fast, Frederick. Patrick drops to his knees and prays for everyone to learn magic, the safe way, then become true people of quality who'll stand by the Prussian Empire when the future finally comes. And just like that, the ceremony snaps shut. Astrid reflect. She pushed for that power to smash the bad ending, but fate dumped her at the one school that's going to trigger it in the first place. Next up, everyone gets lined up for orientation, and the teachers point them toward their assigned classes and send them running off. Astrid exhales in relief, convinced she finally broke free from Frederick until... Then someone yells at her, demanding, "Are you the famous asterisk everyone's been whispering about?" It's Frederick. He snaps into the conversation and tells her that blood magic you used earlier to mess with people, it's deadly. He warns that they have no clue what kind of damage it could unleash on others. And Astrid's hope collapses as she nearly blacks out when she realizes she and Frederick are stuck in the exact same class. She stands there with dead fish eyes and snaps, "Do you know me?" And he answers, "The." Her father keeps taking the stage at court, and people whisper that her magic is downright impressive. She's already mastered everything they teach in elementary school. Frederick can't hide his joy that such a beast of talent was born right here, and now he's pushing for them to team up because he wants the Prussian Empire to rise and thrive. With a proper, graceful nod, she tells him she'd be thrilled to help protect the Empire's prosperity. She seethes under her breath, furious at the thought of him deciding who'll stand beside him to build the country, and at this rate, she's one spark away from starting a war with this very nation. Says that, since he's her classmate, he'll be under her protection right when someone yells at Frederick and he snaps his head around. Adolf. Frederick grins that it's great they're in the same class, and that only makes poor Astrid panic harder, because Adolf is a target too. Casting a line up at a shooting star, he hooks up target file number 2, Adolf Franz von Valentin, and yeah, he's the LA, the eldest son of the Golden Eagle Knights. The Prussian Empire's most fearsome knight order carries a nightmare on his shoulders. His father is the commander, so everyone expects greatness, yet the pressure crushes him. He struts like he owns the world, but he's privately terrified, because blood magic, what the Golden Eagle Knights live and fight with, isn't really his strength. And now, the question haunts him every day. Can he truly take over as the next leader when he can barely keep up? Even on this capture route, he snaps at the heroine, screaming that a mere commoner has no business becoming the next leader of the Knights. Men like him aren't a blank stamp kind of threat at all, so a wise person keeps far from danger. Another young man strides forward, bows to Frederick, and says it's a true honor to grind hard side by side in the very same class. Silvio is up at night, wishing on a shooting star, then he's daring fate to hand him the target file. Number 3, Silvio Henrik von Stein. He's the prime minister of the Prussian Empire's Sun Bright, with a razor-sharp eye for everything around him, constantly clocking details others miss. But every time he complains that his father isn't paying the emperor the attention he should, his words get brushed off, and frustration burns inside him. And on top of that, his magical power comes up short, so mastering magic feels out of reach, feeding a wound he can't stop reopening. Frederick snaps at Silvio to stop with all the formal talk. He wants to slip through school like a normal student, no spotlight, and Astrid's stomach drops because this guy is still a capture target. The fact? The way every capture target has converged here has her on edge like this spot is a live minefield waiting to blow. She never knows when a landmine will snap beneath her feet, so she charges through them as fast as she can because at this pace, there's no way she's walking out of this school alive sudden. Suddenly, the teacher barges in, slams his hands together, and shouts for everyone to grab their seats. He's running this class first year, Group A, and his name is Gregor von Genelich. He teaches the arts of the fire and wind elements. Astrid decides that if he's running the prince's class, then he has to be one of the chosen elite. Right then, someone shows up late, gasping for breath, and blurts out a heartfelt apology. Gregor waves it off like, "You're good," and then pressures him to step up and introduce himself. The new guy strides up and declares, "I'm here to train this class assigned me as the teacher in training," and then he says his name. He's Bernard von Bronikowski, and he vows he'll give it everything he's got, then tells everyone to trust him. And yup, he's another capture target, but this time Astrid's reaction hits like a whole different kind of shock. He shuts his eyes and wishes on that shooting star. Now lock in target file number 4, Bernard. Bernard's a young aristocrat who shows up in the game dressed as the heroine's high school professor, and he's scary in all the best ways. Simple, sincere, rock solid, and weirdly flawless. He doesn't let any cracks show like the other guys do. There's nothing you can exploit, nothing you can use to flirt with him, and that teacher-student line, it makes him the hardest capture target in the whole game. Once you finally lock a real bond with him, he'll commit without a second thought. He's the only guy in prayer to the shooting star who matches Astrid's ideal type, and then she'd stop and she would. I really want to get close to him, but he's also a target the heroine has to deal with, and if she marches up to him recklessly, her whole household could get obliterated. The heroine can pick whoever she wants to save, but the villainess is trapped with no choice in love, so Astrid can't stop wondering if the whole thing is cruel and unfair. Even so, she refuses to hand Bernard over to the heroine, and the thought alone already makes her hesitate. Why do her eyes burn with tears she won't let fall? Because deep down, she desperately wishes she'd been born the heroine instead. Then the story flips. The teacher demands the students hand in a printed form straight to the bank. Astrid stares at the page, starts reading about the new students' orientation camp, and her imagination runs wild. She just imagines girls huddling together, judging who looks good. Then later that night, trading whispers about who they like, and the thought of those conversations makes her feel electric with excitement. Still, because it's an aristocratic academy, it's probably going to feel like elegant tea parties for the noble ladies, but this class is packed with deadly trouble. So she's ready to skip the whole new student orientation camp completely. The scene snaps to her father, and he shuts her down hard. No refusal unless she gives a real reason. He presses her, demanding to know why she won't go, because this is her chance to build real closeness with the sons and daughters of other aristocratic houses. Astrid says, "If I don't sleep at home, I can't rest right." Her father leans in and asks if she's ever slept anywhere besides home. She finally admits, reluctantly and under her breath, that she hasn't because the Duke adds that she's in the same class as His Majesty, and if they get close enough, she could even end up wearing the crown as Empress. Astrid shoots back that she's just a total magic nerd and insists Frederick has zero interest in her, so her father needs to drop the whole idea. The Duke lets out a tired sigh and says that if she's going to recognize herself as a magic maniac, she should at least get her act together, while Astrid grits her teeth, steels her resolve, and vows to fuse magic with modern firepower to tear destiny apart Frederick. He had sworn that magic was for peace and diplomacy, so there was no way he'd ever be her match. She warns her father that if some girl with awful manners walks up to His Majesty, his name at court will get ruined. The Duke swears up and down she's well educated and demands everyone just accept it. Astrid squints, sensing something's off, and asks why his voice suddenly changed. Then the Duke whips his gaze away and snaps that it doesn't matter. She reminds herself she's a good girl and that's all that counts. He nervously blurts out if she's already got someone else tucked in her heart, and Astrid nearly crashes into a full-on panic, because she thinks it's scandalously improper for him to ask a young lady if she likes anyone the Duke. The Duke starts pacing, anxious as hell, and blurts out whether it could be Wolf. Astrid cuts him off fast, saying she respects her teacher, just not like that, because when she was only 4, he was already 25. That age gap is way too massive. Wolf is the only man she's ever let get close to her, and she tells her father, with absolute certainty, that her heart is still empty of anyone else. The Duke nods along to her answer, but his push doesn't stop. He keeps demanding she shows up for the new student orientation camp. She should at least try to get closer to the other fancy aristocratic kids. Kids, she snaps back that she gets it, then prays to God in silence that nothing disastrous is about to blow up there. CHSP 24. Today is the day the new student orientation camp kicks off for real. At camp, like clockwork, every student showed up with a servant, and Astrid did too, slipping hers in as she focused on her studies. Right in the middle of the crowd, she whips around and bam spies Frederick rolling in with his servants by his side. It drives her nuts. He even rolls in with a knight as an escort. And that sight screams that he's being overprotected for someone who's supposedly just his rank soon. Soon, an announcement blares out and orders everyone to rush to their assigned class. As Astrid heads toward her assigned group, a voice slices through the air. Fred calls out her name. Frederick rolls up with a warm smile and tells them straight to the point that he really wants them to get along as classmates. He says he'd like to get to know her better, and Astrid nods politely while her mind screams that she'd rather shut him down. She has zero plans to become friendly with someone like him. Cedric then strides in and introduces his companions like the start of an epic quest. Millions, Adolf and Silvio, and then Silvio's fate crashes in. Silvio kicks things off by introducing himself. Then he can't help but praise Astrid's unreal magical talent, telling her that if anything in class confuses her, she should absolutely ask him for help. Astrid just flashes a polite smile and says she'd be happy to help out anytime too. And it all leads into his grand intro. He steps up, praising them as powerhouse talents, promising they'll back the Prussian Empire of tomorrow, and that's when they've got to hit the books hard and blaze the way for each other. Astra smiles politely, telling them to shelve their jealousy and learn side by side like real citizens of the Empire, but deep down, she's already decided to forge her own path alone. Finally, the new student orientation kicks off. The principal steps up in front of everyone, lays out exactly how their day at school will go, and tells them what they're going to study. He signs up for the elementary division, then whips everyone's attention toward the teacher's wild magic show. The first teacher strides up, lifts her hands, and puts on a full demonstration of water magic. Magic erupts, then another teacher steps up and lights the stage with flame magic. The third one slams something in his hand and hurls it out like a trap, and when it lands, it's a shower of coins. So slick and elaborate, you almost miss the point. Still, Astrid's not impressed. She's got her magic stacked with modern weaponry, and that's where this show ends. With power like that, she was certain she could wipe out a magician at this level until then. She shakes off the pride and tells herself to stay humble because arrogance is how everything comes crashing down. The magic she just witnessed demands razor-sharp control over every single ounce of power, so she's grateful she's got top-tier teachers at her side, and she vows to master every last bit of it. The teacher grins and tells the students, "You'll master magic too if you study hard." Then he sends them off with a warm wish and says, "See you next time." The crowd bursts into applause, and then Frederick swivels toward Astrid, grinning as he declares that the whole demonstration was pure spectacular magic. She nods, saying it takes insane precision to even control magical power like that, because one slip and you could get swarmed by haunted polka dots. That polka dot mention catches Adolf off guard for a split second. She then asks straight up if she can wield magic like that herself, right in response. Astrid flicks her fingers and unleashes a tiny burst of water magic, Sylvia. Silvio praises her and says, "That tiny fountain you made, that's seriously impressive." They say someone with massive magical power can barely control it, but she pulled it off flawlessly anyway. Adolf teases her lightly, claiming the display looks way too blunt. Astrid can already feel it later is going to be brutal, because once you try feats like this in the real world, it's genuinely tough beyond belief. Totally brutal then. With that, the principal wraps up day 1 of new student orientation and thanks everyone for jumping in. Astrid lets out a soft sigh, and for the first time in a while, relief washes over her. She can finally slip away from these people. The camera cuts to Astrid sprawled on her dorm bed, and even though it isn't her home, she finally exhales because Frederick and the rest are nowhere in sight. With everything so calm around her, she finally lets out a breath and relaxes just for a moment. Right when she finally settles in, the doorbell blares and yanks her attention away. A girl slips into the room, and Astrid shoots up from her bed like something's just happened. "What's your name?" he asks, and she smiles and tells him, "I'm Menevan Mohill, the Earl's second daughter from the House of Mohill." Astrid smiles and waves her down to sit right after she takes that step toward the next word. Manate leans in, telling everyone, "I was talking with Frederick earlier, and because he was a promise for the future kind of guy, she couldn't help but feel wildly curious." Astrid can't stop roasting the thought in her head, tells Minay not to get hyped or fangirl over it, and even inside her mind, she thinks the whole idea is absurd because if she ever made a promise like that, it would feel like marching straight toward her own destruction. Minay leans in and says she's heard Astrid's magical skills are truly unreal. She can't picture anyone else, only Astrid standing beside Frederick, and Minay insists it's completely natural until she finally hears. Hearing that, Astrid's mind snaps straight back to the game's root where it was Minei who took care of her just once, in the biggest, most personal way, and now Astrid can't stop wondering who on earth would ever fall for a scrawny, boyish kid like her Minei. Астрід раптово зустрічає поглядом усвідомлення і вигукує: «То є хтось інший, хто тобі подобається?» І Астрід усміхається, зізнаючись: «Так, раніше мені подобався мій приватний репетитор». Minea's face lights up as she blurts out whether Astrid's really going out with that guy, and Astrid immediately shakes her head, hard, shutting it down and saying she's just not feeling well. So he tells Min-A, don't worry, and right after that, Then she asks if there's anyone Mine's got her eyes on. Then Minet's face burns red, and suddenly she hesitates, she fidgets and fumbles, and she finally blurts out that her brother's a knight, and just like that, she reveals how that connection led her straight to someone new. Even with respect for her brother, she can't help it. Adolf has her heart. She sees him as warm, kind, and genuinely friendly, and she's convinced he'll rise up and lead the knights one day. Astrid shrugs off the doubts and tells Minei that Adolf isn't a bad pick at all. She even calms her down, then leans in and warns her to watch herself around that nasty landmine. Her voice is soft and supportive, but deep down, she's already on Minea's side, screaming for her love to win. Astrid leans in and tells Minei, "You've been nothing but kind to me," then pushes, "So let's be friends. Call me Astrid." Astrid. Minei immediately shuts the idea down, saying it'd be wildly disrespectful then. Without missing a beat, she pushes on with Astrid-sama, and still gladly accepts the offer of friendship. Championship, she blurts that she's not exactly great at anything, then begs Astrid to be gentle with her like, "Please." Astrid's mind clocks the vibe fast. This feels more like a matchmaking setup than a normal conversation. Still, she smiles and tells Minei she's truly happy to meet her. Right then, two other girls burst in and say they heard Astrid is close with Minei, and they're itching to be friends with her too. Astrid grins and gladly says they should all be friends. Then she leans in again and tells them to just call her Astrid. But just like that, they refuse too, insisting they never pull off something so disrespectful, and they beg for permission to keep calling her Astrid-sama. And it's like the whole world flips a switch. Everyone around her suddenly acts way too proper. Astrid starts to panic, wondering if she'll ever meet real friends who can just say her name, no honorifics, no stiff rules. Back in her old life, she lived for 20 years now. She's already piled on 6 more in this one. And today's the second day of orientation. Astrid leans over and asks Minei what they're doing, and Minei grins and says they're headed out for a walk through Colbert Forest. Stepping into the forest hits Astrid like a wave of nostalgia back when she was in high school, and in her old life, she'd run with the outdoor activities club, pitch tents, spark bonfires, and cook under the open sky, and now that memory makes her realize she'd genuinely love to do it all again. Minei says this time is basically free, so they can just hang around and sip tea together yet. Astrid pushes back hard, saying she'd rather roam the forest, and maybe, just maybe, they'll stumble on a lost fairy out there in the woods. Minet's eyes widen a little when they bring up that lost fairy. Astrid tells him how, once, she went hunting with her father, and even when everything went wrong, she stepped in and protected a lost fairy during the whole trip. She makes the call for Blau to step out, and the moment he does, he grumbles that he'd been worried Astrid might have forgotten all about him. Astrid let out a soft chuckle, then hurried to apologize, saying she'd been terrified that bringing something weird to school would get her hauled up and scolded. Minei blurts out, "That's incredible," the moment he realizes Astrid already sealed a contract with a fairy. Astrid can't help wondering if Minei can actually see fairies, and she blurts out that it'd be amazing if Minei could make a contract too. Minei hangs her head and admits, with a heavy heart, that she doesn't have a shred of magical talent, so yeah, she's sure that kind of thing can't possibly be real. Astrid calms her down, swearing this is real because the fairies are showing up way kinder than anyone ever expects. Blau beams as she insists it's all true, even bragging that her master once rescued her from a griffin that tried to swallow her whole. Then Astrid snaps her shut fast, terrified that this too curious fairy will spill the exact way she fought that griffin. Switching gears, Astrid urges them to push into the forest, say lucky, and maybe, just maybe, they'll spot a deer. She can't. She casually wonders if a moment like that will ever show up, and inside her head, she checks her shotgun, fully loaded and ready to blow. Minei hesitated, then blurted out a warning slipping deep into the forest in their school uniforms is suicide, because students are only allowed to stay along the outer edge. Astrid nods and says, "All right then, we stick to the perimeter because we're not breaking formation and we're not going to get split up." If they sneak along in silence, a voice suddenly calls out, "Astrid!" and the sound hits her like a warning. And then, when she whirls around, her stomach drops because a swarm of landmines is barreling toward Frederick and his crew. Wearing a fake grin, she blurts Frederick's name and asks what he's up to and how she can help. Then he smiles back and says he'd love to take a walk with her. Astrid felt it in her bones. If he kept closing the distance, that landmine was going to blow right under her feet. Frederick clocked her expression and thought, "Am I bothering her?" She shot back, "No." But deep down, she was practically begging to tell him the truth. He was a bother, and he needed to vanish. Suddenly, Astrid's eyes light up. She's got an idea. Since they're already here, why not bring one more person along while they're all still here? On Lamestorff, Latte shyly blurts out whether it's really okay for her to tag along. Frederick immediately says she's more than welcome, and then Adolf steps in. Then voices worry, insisting they shouldn't step into the forest with the girls until Silvio snaps back that women deserve to be escorted the right way. Before the argument can blow up, Astrid barges in with steel in her voice, shuts it down, and urges everyone to just enjoy a peaceful stroll together like they... As they push forward, Astrid clocks that Minnie is acting a little shy around Adolf, so she softly nudges her on. Then Minnie steels herself, steps up, and calls out to Adolf, reminding him they met at the night's party. Right that all 4 members, plus her older brother's comments, point to him becoming an excellent knight. At night, he blurts out that he's dreaming of becoming a knight soon, and Minette fires back with full confidence she's sure he'll make it, no doubt, while watching them. As they talk, Astrid feels like she's watching flowers burst into bloom, and she takes it as a bright sign that the future's going to be okay, but on the other side, she watches as Latte leans in with Silvio, then pushes a question. "Do you even understand what the Prime Minister's job demands?" Silvio shoots back that sure, the job might not look hard at first, but the real weight crushes you in the decisions, where every choice carries massive responsibility and brutal consequences. It says the Prime Minister's job is to back His Majesty the Emperor, because if the Prime Minister drops the ball, the Emperor might not be able to land the right decision either. Watching them talk so thoughtfully, Astrid couldn't help thinking Latte and Silvio would make an amazing pair. Right now, Manet and Latte are cruising towards solid matchups, and Astrid can't stop thinking about it. There are a bunch of ways to handle landmines, and one smart move is disarming them with tight, controlled procedures. But for her, the biggest landmine still ticks in the shadows. Frederick, the last and most deadly weapon. Frederick shouts at Astrid, but she bolts the second she hears him declaring, in her own wildly dramatic head, that she's a mighty, mature miniature burning magician who summons nature's power, bursting with excitement like she can't hold it in, and Frederick is left in the dust. Frederick tries to keep up, sprinting harder, but Astrid cranks it up even more, grinning as the cool, lovely weather powers her forward. She's convinced today is the perfect day to stretch her legs, crowds fill the grounds, and from where she's standing, she can already spot the gorgeous hills dressed up with flower beds. As she strides, Blau suddenly shows up and fires the question. Does she hate that guy? Astrid snaps back that she absolutely does, because he's a truly dangerous person. She's dead sure that if she slips up, the Duke's whole house will get smashed flat. Deep down, she knows if she lets herself get close to him, disaster could strike at any second. So for her father and mother's sake, she feels she has to. She has to do something, because it's brutally painful to live in a world where there's no nobility, no internet, no smartphones, and not a single way to watch anything for entertainment. And if we're being honest, she hates his whole world. Patrick finally barrels forward, catches up to her, and shouts her name at the top of his lungs. Yet as soon as he approaches, she snaps, "Don't come near me," and he's left standing there, hurting. And Frederick, staring at her with eyes like a scolded puppy, can't believe she keeps hunting for excuses just to dodge talking to him. Astrid digs in her heels and swears it's not true, but deep down, everyone can see she's wrong. Reality, she didn't blink. She snapped up a lie on the spot, swearing that at the forward bearing of 2 o'clock, a cockatrice was waiting. That creature, the cockatrice, looks like a giant chicken with a snake tail, and it spits poison from its mouth enough times, and it can end you for good. Frederick's confidence slips, and a shaky thought hits him. What if this place isn't meant to be safe at all? Astrid points up and says the cockatrice is pacing right over the hill, while the other students are laughing it up. She's warning that this is heading straight toward disaster, and Astrid practically shoves him. Evacuate now and get the teachers. Still, Frederick's focus snaps from the distance to her safety. He's suddenly worried something could go terribly wrong. She yanks out her rifle, declares she'll handle this cockatrice hunting with style, and swears she's got a reason for it, even as the words hang in the air. To pull off something like that, she has to get her muscles blazing, so she turns on her enhancements, ramping up both her physical strength and reflexes, then dashes. She lunges forward, then snaps at Blau to hush the roar of her gunshot. She understands that sound is just air vibrating, so she refuses to slap on a suppressor. Blau can bend the wind and the atmosphere anyway, and she's not about to let anyone learn too much about her shotgun. The cockatrice bursts into a run, and Astrid rockets forward with pure adrenaline, already picturing that fried chicken getting blown away any second. She fires one brutal, high-impact blast, and just like that, the monster gets slammed to the ground. At that exact moment, Frederick snaps out from behind her and calls her name, and it instantly grates on Astrid's nerves. Then she shoots a glare like, why hasn't he gone to get the teachers like he was told, before she can even finish? Frederick whips around and strides up, seizing her hands, then tells her how blown away he is that she faced the cockatrice to shield everyone, calling her bravery absolutely magnificent. Deep down, Astrid's trying not to break. She's frustrated out of her mind, because all she wanted was to slip away from the landmines around her, and somehow the world flipped it into this chaos instead. Frederick shoots back questions about the thing in her hand, but she lies again, claiming it's a brand new crossbow, and then shuts him down by saying she can't spill details because the Duke family owns the intellectual property. Once the teachers finally reach the scene, they declare the cockatrice's death a total mystery, yet everyone exhales in relief because the students are still safe. Finally, once the drama fizzles out and the new students' orientation ends, regular classes kick off and the teacher steps forward to announce today's lesson, the earth element. Then he tells them. It orders the students to kick things off by trying to shape a clay doll from scratch. A brave noble girl gives it her best shot, then it all crumbles right in front of her, and Astrid can barely contain her excitement, thinking, wow, everyone's really struggling right now. She thinks it won't be like that just for her, it'll be over in a blink. Then her friend closes in. She gushes that it's ridiculously cute, just like Astrid always is, and when Astrid asks if she needs help with anything, latte. She hesitates for a moment, then finally admits she's got a request after all. Mina asks Astrid to check Latte's homework because the teacher looks slammed, and Mina can't shake the worry that she'll bother him. Astrid flashes a warm smile and tells him it's totally fine, then she asks, Latte, or is it just you? She started asking me which part I'm struggling with. She's totally baffled by the bit about the soil image, and she's wondering what she's actually supposed to picture when they bring it up. Astrid tells them she has to unlock her power by picturing soil because that's where life springs to life. It blankets the earth, rain-soaked and alive, where roots claw down, flowers burst into bloom, and every patch of green explodes into life like the ground is holding it all close, and she tells Latte to picture it that way. With this explanation, Latte finally breaks through and makes it happen. Latte shoots Astrid a grin and says thanks, because you... She leaned in, telling him that up to this point she'd never once felt the earth beneath her feet, and the idea of it felt impossible to her. Astrid feels like a lifesaver, she thinks. This is perfect, because she's been practicing trench digging for when the moment finally hits. But the second she dug trenches in the garden, both her father and the gardener snapped with fury. Mina then. Anna blurts out that it's too important to guess, then asks Astrid to show them an example right now. Astrid lifts her hands and tells everyone, no worries, this is totally fine. She scrapes up a little trench-shaped soil statue, then plops Blau right on top like he belongs there. Mina's eyes go wide, she blurts out that it's blue, and then gushes, it's so cute. Other students swarm in, then they gush saying it's elaborate, adorable, and absolutely fantastic. Awesome. One of the girls fires off a question, Astrid. Did you really make this yourself? And she can't wrap her head around how you pulled off something this mind-blowing. Amazing, right then? The teacher strides in and asks the girl if she has any questions, promising he'll answer them. But the girl whips her head away and insists she's fine because she wants Astrid to teach her instead. And man, the poor teacher looks crushed, like all his hope just got drained. Frederick bursts in from the back, grinning as he tells everyone how wildly popular Astrid has become. Astrid tries to wave it off, insisting he's just as strong in magic, then he takes a step in. He stands right in front of her and basically tells her his magic looks like kid stuff compared to hers. Then he starts wondering if that crossbow she fired earlier was forged through magic too. She keeps grilling him about what he's even talking, swearing that it's a painstakingly crafted item, made with real care while, deep down, she's like, no way he really does have sharp eyes. Then she flashes back to how he clocked it too. The moment she tried that sneezing magic trick and she can't stop wondering if he truly has that kind of gift then. When someone presses him about sensing the flow of magic, he answers. He's saying it's a rare royal gift that pops up in their bloodline, and then he hits you with the real power. He can feel the flow of magic and pinpoint exactly what kind of spell was used. He goes on to say, magic is messy, mind-bendingly hard to master even if you've got the talent. Astrid can't ignore it. He's got a seriously troublesome talent, and when the day finally comes for her to face him, she's going to be in for a brutal headache for now. Now she makes up her mind she's going to run him off for good. Then she calls out how Adolf can't even get a grip on forming and breaking the clay doll, and she turns to Frederick to ask if he'll help teach everyone math. He tosses in the magic like it's nothing, then heads out after urging them both to back up their classmates, because he's sure they'll grow into something strong together. Right as she waves him goodbye, someone shouts Astrid's name and asks, "Can we ask you something?" And they're just about to get the question out when... Will she end up getting engaged to His Highness Frederick someday? That one statement sends shivers skating down Astrid's spine because the girls keep talking, insisting that the two of them looked way too close back at orientation, and now they can't stop wondering if something's really going on. Astrid swears nothing's going on, but the girls, they just won't accept it. They refuse to believe her. They decide it's gotta be confidential, nod like they get it, but still swear they'll be cheering her on and backing her every step of the way. After all of this, Astrid can't take it anymore. She's seething with frustration because she just spent time teaching magic to everyone, and it doesn't help her studies one bit, the library. It's the shared hallway for the whole school, from the elementary wing to the high school side, so even Astrid can dive into advanced magic books. Right now, her obsession is blood magic. She's determined to craft her own perfect, brand new blood spell. She cracks open Blood Magic Basics 101, and the pages hit hard to cast blood magic. You've got to bleed yourself. Your own blood is the key, and if you want it to work on someone else, you must press in with direct physical contact. Then she moves on to the next part. In Basics 201, the text lays it out. Blood magic doesn't come out of nowhere. It feeds on the magic already swimming inside your blood, coursing through your body, and that's why practitioners can turn their own blood into a deadly weapon. The Basics 301 book lays it out. Blood magic can be shut down with a blood magic barrier, and that detail is absolutely vital. Even if Astrid is a beast with modern weapons, blood magic's direct hit would still smash right through her defenses. Blood magic barriers can shield someone for as long as the enemy's technique can't outmatch their own. If she could forge a technique that automatically shuts down any spell the opponent throws at her, it would be absolutely mind-blowing. She's already itching to try it, but right now there's nobody to face until a senior student steps in and straight up asks if she's really the elementary school kid, then doubts she can even read and understand that book. Astrid spots the tie color and suddenly realizes, wait, this guy has to be a high school student. She can't even finish the thought. She shuts her book with a snap, tells him politely she only grasps a little and only on the surface, then reminds herself to stay humble, because 1 ounce of arrogance could light the fuse on her own destruction. Then he leans in and tells her, I've got a tiny question for you, and hits her with, who was the very first person to ever kill with blood magic? Astrid thinks he's just messing around to entertain himself by picking on an elementary school kid, yet she still answers as the moment cuts off mid-sentence. She tells him it was Elias von Engelhardt, and it all went down in the US. In the year 10,010 of the Continental Calendar, he murdered Maximilian I, the 12th Electroplatinate, by unleashing blood magic and forcing it straight through his own blood, where it would harden inside the victim's body, a spell so forbidden it's feared to this day. Another student blurts out that he wrote Auto 2 on his exam, and he admits it was a real trick question. Then she still somehow gets it right. They press her with another question which celebrity took blood magic healing, perfected it, and spread it everywhere. Astrid snaps back that it was Yosel Junger. He used blood magic to heal soldiers who'd lost limbs in the war back in 1214, and that's why the Junger Schleiden Institute is named after him. The teenagers freeze when she nails every single answer, and they can't stop wondering if she's really just an elementary school kid. Student, she answers in a calm voice that she is right when everything hangs on her next word. Then it clicks, both of them finally piece it together, and in hushed whispers, they confirm it. The red-haired girl is Duke Oldenburg's daughter. Astrid snaps back that, yeah, her name's Astrid, and it's awesome to meet you too. The high school kid just nods and says, I get it now. Like, no wonder I've heard those rumors. The Duke's daughter is a total magic prodigy. And he leans in, asking if she'll help with his assignment if she's okay with it, because he can't crack it by himself. She flashes an evil grin and says yes, then slips in a deal, demanding something in return for it. Her condition is simple. They have to hit her with blood magic, and it has to work fast. Something that'll make her burst into sneezes or tears, the kind of instant effect you can't miss. They admit they can do a magic trick that makes you sneeze, but they stall, second-guessing if it's really okay to do it to her. She swears it'll work, but warns them to stay on guard because that spell could snap back and hit the caster instead. The two of them start pumping the blood magic, and the instant she grabs his hand, that poor kid's magic snaps back. Then he starts sneezing non-stop like it's fighting him from the inside. She speaks with steady calm and tells him it's all because of the magical barrier she built on her own. And since they've already joined her experiment, she steps in to help them with the ritual experiment and their assignment. She returns, and the second offensive barrier experiment finally pays off in a big way, working like a charm, but she knows stronger blood magic spells could still punch through her defenses, so she vows to keep training every single day. No excuses. Fails. The scene jumps to Astrid slumped in her classroom, and Minnie storms up, grinning with wild excitement, asking if Astrid's heard the rumors about the princess in the library. Then it cuts off. At first, Astrid's eyes widen because this statement hits her way harder than she expected, and she haunts the library every single day, and not once has she ever spotted anyone who looks even remotely like that person. Her face drains of color as panic hits. Could this really be a ghost? She nearly blurts a scream because frightening stories absolutely wreck her, and she begs Minnie to stop scaring her like that, only for Minnie to shoot back fast that this isn't a ghost story at all. They say there's a stunning, brainy genius hiding out in the library. Her brains are so sharp that bachelor students practically beg for her advice, and her beauty is so unreal that everyone can't help calling her the prince. Mane almost never steps into the library herself, so she's clueless about this mysterious girl. Then Astrid swears she goes all the time, yet she's never once laid eyes on anyone like her. Minnie shoots a surprised look and points it out, admitting she'd secretly been hoping to catch sight of that person at least once. Then Astrid jumps in and says, "Come on, let's go together." Minnie blurts out, practically vibrating with excitement, asking if it's really okay for her to tag along Astrid. Richard shoots back that the library's book collection is straight up impressive, and she's sure Minnie is going to love it too. They finally lock in the plan and sprint straight to the library during the next break. Soon, the two of them are hustling into the library, then someone calls out. She shouts for Astrid, and Astrid tells the person, "I'm here today with my friend." Right then, the senior from before snaps out again, demanding her help for another assignment. Another boy steps up, says he's heard she's itching to know what high school classes are like, and asks if she wants him to teach her. Astrid flashes a polite smile and says it's great meeting all of them, but she's here to pick out a book with her friend, so she'll catch up with them later as she continues. Continues browsing, she tells Minette, of course there's no princess in the library, then freezes when she hears Minette chuckling under his breath and can't figure out why he's laughing. It hits her fast. This foolish girl never even noticed she's already become a legend in the library. In the next morning. Morning hits and Astrid is straight up throwing a tantrum because she's got zero money. She's totally blanking on how this is basically her everyday outcome. Even if her house crumbled to dust, she'd still keep stacking more and more abilities to stay alive, yet right now, she's stuck in the middle of an existential spiral, wondering how she managed to be so unstoppable back when she was only 4 years old. Right then, she decides a part-time job is the only way out. Bernard strides up and asks what she's mumbling, and Astrid blurts out, "So I asked him what kind of part-time job he'd been doing back when he was still a student." Bernard leans in and tells her he once worked as a magician's assistant, and somehow it all sounds a little too perfect. Astrid's clueless about it, so he breaks it down. It's a system that lets unregistered magicians jump into an adventure guild party as temporary helpers, lending their power when it counts. Astrid can't contain her excitement and blurts out, "So how much does a job like this pay?" Bernard remembers how, back when he was a student, he busted his ass after school and on weekends, and he's pretty sure he pulled in about 500 marks a month. Working class folks pull in about 80,000 marks a month, so this kind of student job is honestly pretty damn decent. Bernard then presses her hard, asking if she's really serious, and shuts her down, telling her she can't say she wants to do that. She snaps back that yes, she really does because she needs the money, period, no matter what it costs her. Sensing disaster brewing, Bernard warns her that a magician assistant gig just isn't fit for a duke's daughter. Then she snaps back that if the duke finds out, her allowance gets slashed, so she bats her puppy dog eyes at him and pleads for it to stay between them. Bernard snaps his head away and says he's rushing off to tell the Duke until she lunges and snatches him back, insisting she was only joking, and it all leaves. Bernard couldn't shake the question, what kind of joke was that supposed to be? At last, she pulled it off, she found a way to earn money, and relief hit hard, but if she's going to back adventurers in the field, her firepower right now just doesn't cut it. She snaps and decides she's building a machine gun. To do that though, there's a brutal problem controlling the magical energy that surges into the firing pin. She's already learned how to blast shots. She channels magical energy straight into the firing pin and lets it rip. Even if she plants the pin, if she pours in too much power, it triggers a sudden, uncontrolled discharge. But if she doesn't pour in enough magical energy, that non-stop machine gun barrage simply won't happen, and then she has to take it. He needed a few seconds to refill his magical energy, and that tiny pause was about to bite him. If that energy leaks out, it's game over. She's determined to trap every ounce of magical power inside the firing pin before it can fade. Normally, a substance can only safely hold about 1/500th of your total magical power, but the special metal Wolf gave her can gulp down about 1/5, and she suddenly recalls that detail, then her mind races what would happen if she forged the firing pin using the metal she just borrowed from Wolf. The very next day, she calls out to Mr. Noam and straight up asks if she can use the special metal as the gun's firing pin. Mr. Gnome leans in and studies the metal so closely it's almost obsessive. Then he says it's wildly rare in nature, yet the moment he thinks about using it by itself, worry clenches his gut about how strong it can really be. Astrid tells him not to stress at all. She genuinely wants to use it. Then she asks if they can crank up its power by turning it into an alloy, and that's where misses. It's like Mr. Gnome can't stop wondering how she always pulls out ideas this brilliant. Astrid swears she can picture it working perfectly and begs him to do it for her. Mr. Gnome just nods and tells her to hand it over to him, and finally, she's gone. At last, the shotgun is finished. Astrid charges to it and wraps her arms around it like it's alive, beaming because she finally made it. Mr. Gnome explains that he used the special metal for the firing pin exactly the way she asked, and then he pauses, like he's about to drop the next detail. No problems with the alloy's strength, he's sure of it, and for the magical energy control, he tells Astrid to test it herself. Astrid thanks Mr. Gnome on the spot. Immediately slams into test firing mode, she activates her... She poured her blood magic into her body for raw strength, then bolted forward and started blasting toward a broke scarecrow, then the magic proof dropped in like a knockout punch. Turns out it's absolutely magnificent, Mr. Gnome. Gnome laughs and says she's totally obsessed with this stuff, but Astrid can't stop smiling because the gun keeps steering the magical energy through the firing pin flawlessly, and it never runs dry even after 100 blistering rapid shots. Which is a huge upgrade, yeah. But she knows she can't keep up that non-stop assault by herself. Because if she steps in, she'll throw the world's balance off kilter. Still, she needs real firepower to face the destruction fate has waiting for her, and she promises Mr. Gnome that this weapon stays in her hands, no matter what. Mr. Gnome sighs and grudgingly swears he'll trust her words for now, then whispers that the age of iron and fire is rushing closer, begging she stays out of it because the age of iron and fire, yeah, that's war, and with her, it's about to ignite. With what she's carrying right now, she can't punch through an entire nation's army, especially since her enemies can even toss fireballs at her with magic. No matter how close that war crawls to her doorstep, she's still out there only fighting. She wrestles with the crushing weight of a fate that spells destruction, but with a war looming, she decides she'd better collect real battle data right now. Mr. Gnome smirks and calls it just another of her reckless schemes, and she shoots back instantly. No way. And with that, she's finally ready to storm into the Adventurers Guild because she needs cash, pronto, for the destruction she's convinced is coming for her. So a 6-year-old girl starts working part-time, machine gun in one hand, marching toward the end. Fate she already sees on the horizon. She's finally made it now. It's time to earn that money. The second she crosses the threshold of the guild hall, whispers ripple through the crowd as everyone starts murmuring like they've seen something they can't explain. Suddenly, a hulking, heavy-set man closes in on her fast. He looks like the kindest soul, softly pats Astrid, and can't stop wondering why she's ended up in a place like this, saying it's packed with terrifying people that'll send chills down your spine, and that she should go back home. Astrid whipped around. It snaps away from him and bumps into someone new right then. A young woman steps up, asks if she's lost, and demands to know what happened to her mother and father. Doubting whether she'd actually tag along with her to hunt them down, she's just about to ask when a third man strolls up and slips her some candy. Everyone smiles at her like she belongs here, yet Astrid can't shake the feeling that they're being almost too kind, because getting to the reception desk turns into a surprisingly tough mission. Finally, she slides up to the counter, leans in, and calls the receptionist over asking to apply for a magician assistant job. The receptionist tells her straight she's just an elementary magic school kid, and if she can't pull off blood magic, then nobody's going to hire her for the job. Astrid swings her confidence back into the room, telling everyone it's fine she's self-taught, and she can back it up with physical strengthening magic plus healing magic, even if the receptionist falters for a second, then forces her calm back in place. She tells her, "Alright then, I'll get Astrid's guilt certificate ready," and immediately asks for her name and address. Astrid even slips into a disguise to hide her second identity, but she also knows one thing: if anyone even suspects she's using an alias, her chance of getting hired dies on the spot. So she steels herself and moves forward. She honestly jots down her real info and hands it straight to the receptionist. The receptionist's eyes widen when she spots the name, and suddenly she realizes Astrid is the Duke's daughter because no way would she be able to remember it that quickly. She can't stop wondering if they should reach out to the Duke's family, but Astrid snaps in fast, begging her to forgive her, swearing she'll slip out of sight and keep everything under the radar. The reception is... Astrid agrees and demands to see her student ID Astrid PR. Astrid snaps it over right away, and after the receptionist checks every detail, she asks if she should write Astrid's full name, but Astrid insists they only use her first name. Finally, the receptionist slaps the magician assistant card into her hands. Then he officially welcomed her to the Adventurers Guild and laid out exactly what her new job would demand, because the next step was magic. The magician assistant isn't a full-time guild member, he's a non-regular, stuck on the sidelines until a real member takes him on, and once that hiring happens, boom, you're finally cleared to enter the guild. Exhausted or not, she's going to have to haggle with the party over her reward rate. Once the raid calms down, the guild writes it all down, and as soon as a quest is finished, everyone gets their cut of the rewards based on the deal they agreed to. She made sure the rules were locked tight, so no one could shortchange her payment and the reception. Actionist closes it out by daring her to give it everything she's got. Bastard stalks off, realizing she has to track down a party desperate enough to hire her next. As she scans the room, a friendly-looking group catches her eye, an all-women party, and not a single magician in sight. Spotting her opening, she strides up to them and asks straight up if they need a magician, and one of the women turns toward her. A girl asks, "Am I really a magician or just pretending?" Astrid grins and explains she's a magician's assistant and a full-on academy student. Another woman insists they need a magician, even though she's still stuck in elementary school. Astrid flashes a confident grin and tells them she's already mastered the magic they need, period. Then she whips out her dagger, and before the three women can even finish the word wait, she's already made up her mind. She just flicks her hand dagger still in grip like she's casting a signal, and the group, Hope, immediately shouts for someone to fetch a doctor and grab bandages, stunned that the cut went that deep. Astrid stays calm and tells them to look closer, then drops the truth. The injury is just a blood magic trick. With that, her hand shows up spotless and uninjured because she remembered to lay down paint blocking first. She then presses, "Should I show off my strength too?" But she flat out refuses, saying she already mastered healing magic, and now they finally know exactly what to expect from her. Gertrude steps forward and introduces herself as the party's vanguard. Then the other two girls follow right after Ernesta and Patra. Astrid steps forward and introduces herself as the magician's assistant. And just like that, the group finally gets the magical support they've been craving. Gertrude declares they're about to set out on a daring quest, and it practically bursts with excitement, picturing the chance that they might be heading out on a full dragon extermination mission. But she quickly clears it up. Our real mission isn't magic for show. We're here to harvest the magical magic. Medicinal herbs, then. Astrid's face falls hard, like she can't believe what kind of mission this even is, and Gertrude catches every bit of it, demanding to know why she looks so crushed. Astrid leans in and asks if the task is really as brutal as they say, pushing the conversation right into a new phase, prompting. Gertrude told them to explain those herbs they were gathering pseudomanter, and the areas where are pseudomandric glow plants in huge numbers, and their habitats start pulling in powerful magical creatures like magnets. Features then, Gertrude leans in, like trouble's already here, making the quest feel deathly, and she fires a question at Astrid, "What are you going to do?" Astrid fires back instantly, no hesitation at all, and says she'll join, like she's already expecting. She blurted out that she wasn't scared of magical beasts at all, Kutru. Richard reaches out, grips her hand, and tells her he can't wait to team up and work together. Then they start arguing over the reward, and Gertrude slams the offer on the table. She wants 20 of the total. Because the mission pays 60,000 marks, Astrid's cut would be 12,000 big money, the kind that feels like a win right away, so she snatches the deal instantly and agrees. With the deal finally locked in, Gertrude storms off to take care of the official paperwork. Now she just has to wait. Patra leans in and says, Astrid's a student, so she has to be some kind of aristocrat. Then she can't help but wonder. She can't wrap her head around why she'd even dare to become a magician's assistant. Astrid finally explains. She warns that the future is still deadly, so she decides to hustle, earn her own cash, and stash every last coin put. Patra says a magician on their team is a huge win because sure, they've got power, but the capable magicians can unlock even more. Magicians are incredibly rare, especially when they're graduating students and freshly turning into adventurers, unless they were born into a noble family, but the kind that was dirt poor, barely hanging on. Patra snaps at Astrid to stick right by their side in the fight, warning that if she loses her mobility, danger will come for her fast. Street grins and nods along, then thanks them like it's the best kind of victory. Gertrude finally shows back up, throws them an apology for making them wait, and brushes off their concern, pausing just long enough to confirm every last formality is finished. Once the dust finally settled, the crew snapped into action and charged onto their quest. Even if it's only temporary, it's Astrid's first real leap into adventure. Then they finally reach their destination, and Jared tells everyone she'll be in front like always. Petra's got the center, Ernesta takes the back, and Petra. Astrid finally asks Jared if the Duso Mandrak is ahead, and Gertrude admits she doesn't have the intel because they're all working together, and Jared reassures her she'll be with them. They ask, didn't the adventures before this already drain every last drop of hope, leaving it all jaded? It lays down one hard rule: medicinal herbs aren't meant to be wiped out only if a true emergency hits. An emergency, that's a deal 8 for the next adventure, or next time. They come back themselves. Even Jared can't wipe out a colony of those growing plants, which is exactly why this all spirals so badly. Astrid went, "So you're telling me adventures come with this wild, oddly protective rulebook?" Yeah, maybe that's exactly why they can run into a magic beast there, because the whole place is being kept alive by the adventures that people die for, anytime they might strike. They've got to reach that colony, so Jared pushed, "Who do we contact, and what do we say, Astrid, before anything else blows up?" She's buzzing with excitement God, this is going to work. Because she's got a shortcut with the rucksack right beside her, and out of everything, it's the machine gun in her hands that hits the hardest. Then, out of nowhere, Jared suddenly asked. He begged everyone, please watch your step. Something's coming, and you can see it, but you don't know how dangerous it is yet. Waves and their offsprings cause nothing but trouble, and Astrid can't stop thinking, why on earth is a wave even a thing? Swooped in with a nasty little offer for Garrett Explorer. They said these waves are way more vicious than the usual ones because they'll do anything to protect their babies. Even worse, those wave runs hit with malicious intent, boosting in size and shredding anyone in their path. And yeah, it can even kill people. This young hatless can't dodge, so trouble is coming fast. Troublesome Petra. Ask Jared what they're doing at Gertrude, she snaps that they'll claim they'll do it again, but if the next colony is too far, they'll just stand there because they've got a magician with them, and she asked, in that Esther, she and Anushka will pin them in place to keep them busy, then she'll slip in, strike fast, and take the chance to attack. From behind, Astrid yanks out her shotgun. Petra cushions the moment, and she hands the charge right over to her. Her voice snapped. What is this thing? Astrid grinned and said, it's just a magician's weapon. With that, Jared and Ernesto sprint straight toward the wavelength. When they turned to face Gerard Askernes, the waves seemed to snap to attention too. Nesta told them to go after the big one and back Gertrude, no backing down. He charges in and slashes the biggest one, the big wave. Wavelengths snapped their focus to Gertrude as Petra blurted out, Hey, are you okay? Astrid slams her compact enhancement into place. Blood magic crackled in the air, and with zero hesitation, she shoved forward her short gun like it was her next move. Two of them stepped into the fight, too, battle drums pounding as it all kicked off with a shocking start. Astrid spots that giant wyvern, so she hurls her arrows at it from the pot right away. She's pulled it off, she's done it, and she just said so. That she can't afford to lose with that. That's when she snaps into action and starts blasting those winged lizards charging this way. Astrid snaps into a tactical reload, swaps out her still usable magazine for a fresh one, and keeps ammo locked tight so there's zero chance of an accidental shortage. Seeing it, Patra freezes, baffled about what she's even doing, and starts to wonder if this is real magic. Astrid just nods and says it's basically like that. Then Patra snaps into action, urging Astrid to jump in and help Gertrude and Ernesta right now. Pesta and Patra sprint straight at their direction while Astrid slides into motion behind them. She surges forward, sprints up the hill, and plants herself right in front of the winged lizards. Sure she's perfectly positioned and there's zero chance of friendly fire, she starts, inspiring them to keep fighting. Rage was the biggest, most alive creature of them all, so it came barreling straight toward her. Astrid's stomach drops when she realizes the creature is locking onto an intercept course. Gertrude's group watches its movement change fast, then boom, they're suddenly trapped right in the line of fire. She realizes she has to shift positions right now. Right before she can act, Gertrude and Ernesta crash in and rip the battlefield apart with a slashing disc wave, dropping two enemies in one brutal sweep. Gertrude rushes up to Astrid and fires off, checking if she's truly okay. She flashes her gratitude and basically says, unlike you, they're not pumping themselves up with blood magic. She realizes the real weapon in battle is discipline, not flashy magic, and admits she's been way too cocky because she leaned on her spells. Now she's hit the brakes, ready for some serious self-reflection. Good. Gertrude leans in and asks if anyone can still see wyverns, and Patra fires back that she'll fan out and scout the area while everyone else gathers the herbs and gets ready for her return. Later on, Gertrude strides up to Astrid and heaps praise on her, shouting that she just wiped out 4 wyverns and backing it up with straight-up admiration for her skills. She even gushes over Astrid's iron word charm technique, then says it feels like these days students keep getting more and more advanced, even though So yeah, Astrid herself is the kind of kid who's just straight-up exceptional. With the area finally under control, the crew snags the pseudo-mandrake and wastes no time gearing up to head back home. Because it's just a fake pseudo-mandrake, it can't match the real deal, and it never makes anyone scream. With the theme sorted and no extra wyverns to worry about, Patra swings back and asks how it's going. Gertrude tells her they've hauled in 30 herbs and they're ready to bolt. Everyone's crushed it, point blank, and with that, the quest finally slams shut. Astrid's eyes light up as she finally gets her cut of the reward money. Pacho pats her shoulder and tells her the mission went way smoother because she was on the team. Then he adds that he's hoping they can count on her again down the road. So they'll keep teaming up, and the scene. Then Astrid starts shoving her money into a safe, thinking, once this thing's packed, I'll move it to a trusted financial institution in a third country. The Round Table of the Spirits is an old-school salon where only a handful of noble daughters get the invite, and somehow, Astrid's been called there too. Astrid can't stop wondering if this mystery ties to King Arthur or some legend cut from the same cloth, and she tells Mine, don't worry, I'll hold myself back. Mane cuts in right away, telling Astrid she can't pull that stunt. This place is run by the Shadow Student Council, and if Astrid ignores them, they'll hit back. Like, by slapping on ridiculous rules that even banned an elementary kid from touching high school level books. Astrid can't believe they're trying to snatch the study materials she needs right when she's fighting off a full-on fit of disjunction. She rips out her gun on the spot and snaps that she's going to smash this stupid salon to pieces, then Manet cuts in fast, telling her she can't do that. Astrid begs Manet to come with her, but Manet snaps back that if a high and mighty aristocrat shows up uninvited, the whole room will turn on her and she'll get scolded. Poor Astrid absolutely doesn't want to go, but now you see her standing right there in front of the salon gate like she's just arrived for something big. She whips her head away, swearing she'll act like she never even saw that invitation, and then she'll just head straight to the library when someone shouts her name. Frederick points at the landmine and demands to know if she's headed to the salon too, then asks what. He can't help but wonder if she's hesitating to step inside, and when he asks, she admits she's invited, she's just terrified, and the moment he shows up, she decides she definitely can't go in anymore. Frederick grabs her attention and tells her to take his hand, promising he'll guide her, then reassures her that even though some people inside are older, they're not dangerous. They're not nearly as scary as she's been imagining. She slips her hand into his, praying that, but that moment won't last before you know it. It's gone. The gates fling wide, her eyes light up as the salon dazzles in front of her, then the moment turns into a, but wait. He figures that if they've got the cash to deck out a room like that, they could pour the money into upgrading their educational curriculum instead. Frederick then shouts out to Varia, and Varia immediately lights up with a warm welcome. And the second she clocks him holding hands with Astrid, her face lights up with a warm smile. Grinning wide, she leans in and asks who the young lady beside him could possibly be, which makes Astrid yank her hand away from him instantly, and right then, Frederick steps up and introduces Astrid, calling her a first-time participant. Astrid moves forward, introduces herself as a first-year student in the elementary division, and tells him she's truly honored to be invited. Varia replies to Astrid with a grin, saying she's way cuter than the rumors made her sound, and then she introduces herself as Varia von Balmerton, president of the Round Table of the Spirits, a second-year high school student, and tells Astrid it's great to finally meet her. She clocks it immediately. Turns out that one rumor she heard wasn't just noise, it was real. And yeah, people swear Astrid already locked in her promise of a future with His Highness Frederick. Astrid instantly wonders how that rumor could have caught fire so fast, and then regrets it. She should have kept away from Frederick as much as she could. Varia says Astrid is the only one Frederick ever calls by her first name. During the new student orientation, he introduced himself as the one who once shielded her with his life from a cockatrice, and you can bet your boots that even today, Astrid shows up escorted by His Highness. Astrid couldn't believe they twisted the truth, so she snapped back and denied it on the spot. She shuts down the claim and swears she's made 0 promises to His Highness, none. That's when Varia's eyes narrowed. Maybe this was a secret all along, and then she went and meant to. She tells me she's heard Astrid can do magic and wordcraft, then leans in and asks, so what kind of magic does she actually use the most? Astrid shoots back that she mostly fights with earth magic and blood magic right then, Blau bursts in and yells, demanding what's up with the wind, elemental, telling everyone to be honest about whether it's even any good. Especially when Blue barges in, Astrid shoots her a quick apology, then turns to the others and explains that she can handle the wind element just as well. Varia's practically grinning. She's thrilled Astrid already sealed a deal with the fairy, and then she drops the bomb that she's got one too. She summons Rena to show up, exposes her as an earth elemental, and tells her straight up to get along with. Blau strides up to Rena and introduces herself. Rena answers with perfect politeness, and right away you can tell it's all a mask. She immediately claims those sweets as hers the moment she sees them and makes it crystal clear she's not sharing a single one. That makes Astrid think fairies are downright unreasonable, while Blau frowns and blurts that she just wants Rena to finally share with her. Astrid leans in and asks Varia what kind of missions the Round Table runs, and Varia breaks it down. This lets high school, middle school, and elementary kids mix together, dig deeper into what they're learning, and forge friendships that could totally pay off in their future social lives. Astrid's all about studying, she barely cares about anything else. She snaps lights blazing in her mind and realizes that if she can forge powerful communication channels with future influential aristocrats and their families, she might just dodge the fate that's about to wipe out her house. Her whole vibe shifts and she shoots Varia. A question, are you trying to marry into royalty or into a ducal house? Then Rena drops the bombshell. She's not just dating someone, she's engaged to Eugen, the Duke of Schleswig. Astrid lunges in right away, grabbing a bunch of hands and insisting they all get along. Because to her, making human connections is everything, and the moment the Round Table starts feeling like the perfect place for her, it's suddenly hard to believe the Shadow Student Council was ever real. Almost like it was just a rumor after all. Beria leans in and tells Astrid to shelve the heavy stuff for later, then flashes a sly smile like, "Relax, our job is just to share a cozy chat, sip tea, and nibble sweets." Astrid trembles and insists they need to study, build connections, and stay away from... Not wasting a second, Varya slips in with that sly, no-warning hustle. She's a little stunned when Astrid says, "avoid," but she shrugs it off and tells her, "Go ahead, do whatever you want." She says kids from way too prestigious families often lock themselves away, and that's exactly why the round table has to happen. Astrid tells herself she's already made friends with Minai and Latte, even if they're still stuck on formal titles instead of just calling her like one of the crew. Adolf shrugs off his title like it means nothing, while Silvio admits he's only ever clicked with Frederick and Adolf and sees this as the perfect chance to finally break out. Silvio leans in and fires a question at Frederick, then Frederick answers without hesitation. If only the top nobles stuck together, all it would do is stack even more barriers between everyone. He's convinced the walls between elementary, middle, and high school should come down so everyone can mix, talk, and study together. And Astrid can't help staring because that annoying boy keeps glancing her way instead of just focusing on his own work. Various tells everyone, for today, stop overthinking chat with the others and get comfortable at the round table. And you can hear it in her voice that she's truly praying this spot turns into a paradise for all of them. Frederick whips around to Astrid and asks if they should talk, leaving her staring at him like, "Why me, again?" She admits she has no idea what they're even supposed to talk about. Frederick jumps in and asks how her school life's going, and she lights up, everything's great, she's made friends, and her studies are gliding along smoothly. Frederick lets out a breath of relief because even with her insane magical talent, her weird little personality is what had been making him fear she'd end up all alone, Astrid, and... The word unique makes her flinch inside because being an imperial prince feels way rarer, but she bites her tongue and holds it back. She slips around it to dodge that deadly destruction flag, then flashes a smile, asks him how he's doing, and Frederick shoots back that he's loving school too, and joining it has him feeling totally free. He tells you that ever since he was a kid, they shoved study and non-stop martial arts training down his throat. And his father, His Majesty the Emperor, was brutally strict, so every single day felt like it could explode in his face. Astrid clocked it instantly because she couldn't forget his father, the ruthless Soldier King. Astrid tells Frederick, "You grind day and night, you're working your butt off, and your grades are incredible." And suddenly, Adolf, Silvio, and a whole crowd of students swarm in, circling him like something big is about to happen. She's pretty sure it's all Frederick's natural charm pulling the strings. Frederick beams at her, thanks her, and says he's thrilled she told him that. Because of his position, he can't afford to show weakness, so he just keeps it all locked down. Meanwhile, Astrid's patience snaps as Fred squeezes her hand way too tight. Frederick then pulls her along and says they've got to greet every senior and classmate in the room, and Astrid nods because deep down she's hoping someone here might be the one to save her later. Meanwhile, Reina and Blau are going at it, snatching candies like their lives depend on it. Astrid is back at the Adventurers Guild, practically vibrating with excitement because she's about to rake in money again. Meanwhile, Patra and the others spot someone sprinting down the street toward them, still stuffing food in their mouth. Before long, everyone realizes they slipped into the GRM mountains to hunt magical beasts, and Astrid can't stop wondering if they found anything. Then the truth finally drops. But it was all a lie. The nest was totally empty, no flame dragon in sight, and Astrid can't shake the shock as she demands how it even happened. Gertrude. Astrid tells him dragons roam through every season just to breed, and it's a total nightmare, because sometimes they creep dangerously close to the capital. She says it sounds terrifying, and she shoves that thought to the side and shoots back, asking if there's any quest out there meant for her. Gertrude fires back that, yes, there's a fresh job, a shady guy's been spotted on a mountain tied to some aristocrat, and they've got to dig in before things get worse. The moment she spots that suspicious figure, Astrid's whole body trembles because she can't stand the thought of them warning her it might be a ghost. And honestly, a ghost would be the worst enemy she can't shoot one down with lead balls. Everyone starts guessing goblin or bandit instead, and that thought alone crushes Astrid's fear because anything is better than a ghost. If the client's an aristocrat, they're paying a jaw-dropping 100,000 marks, and Astrid gets asked right then how she feels about it. She hears the offer and snaps it up on the spot because soon she's going to finally land the job she's been chasing. Finally, she arrives at Aristocrat's Mountain, then the client demands they track down that mysterious figure and wipe it out the second they realize it could be dangerous. They think hunting a goblin will be a walk in the park, but the second it's a bandit, things get way more brutal fast. Goblins fight tooth and nail with nothing but teeth but bandits. They roll in swinging weapons like it's business as usual. A goblin's body is so stunted and short that it might even match the height of poor Aster. Astrid leans in and asks Gertrude if they're really not going to hire a fourth member this time, so Gertrude answers, He tells her they all came from the same orphanage and have run this job together for ages, then warns that they won't welcome a new member unless there's a damn good reason. As Astrid finally realizes it, Gertrude leans in and tells her, "You're one of us, an essential part of the team." And somehow, that reassurance hits like a warm punch. They tell her not to worry, and Gertrude blurts that he wants Astrid to officially join their team the moment she grabs. Astrid hears it and immediately yells, "I'll do my best." Patra tells Gertrude she's found fresh footprints, but they're not goblin tracks, and they sure aren't bandit tracks either. She can't shake the gut feeling that they might be orcs. Orcs swing weapons they've ripped from humans, tear into them with savage ferocity, feast on their flesh, and can even grow up to a brutal 2 meters tall. Gudrud fires off a question to Patra. How rare are orcs? Patra answers with a blunt truth. They're about as common as goblins, and she thought they died out in this country long ago. Turns out, orcs and goblins were once clinging to extinction, then suddenly their ranks exploded. They started copying human tools and weapons, crashing into villages and hunting down adventurers until the last emperor snapped and launched a massive crackdown. That's how they got nearly wiped out in this country though. A few survivors still cling to life in the mountains, hiding in other countries too. That suppression order is still locked in, and there's a huge reward for wiping out the horde, so they can't hold back. They have to go all the way and exterminate every last one, even if it's a real hassle. Astrid fires off. How much is the bounty? And the talk cuts off as Hotra drops the bombshell. It's 80,000 marks. As soon as she hears it, Astrid snaps at Gertrude, reminding her the client demanded every harmful element be cut out, so they better move forward with the job. When they see how fired up she is, the others instantly nod along and agree. And Patra's told to chase the trail, so she shuts out everything and lets her nose do the work, sniffing out their trail and catching that nasty smell of filth. She declares she'll scout by any means necessary, then snaps everyone into a tight defensive circle. After a while, Patra finally slips back, and Gertrude fires off. So, what's it look like? Patra answers that she spotted them, confirming it's a pack of orcs. Somewhere about 50 meters ahead, there are around 20 of them barely armed, so she figures they might actually have a shot at beating them. Gertrude whips her gaze to Astrid, eyeing her magical weapon, a crossbow that looks like it can keep firing without stopping. Astrid and Patra are set to slam the orcs to a halt, while Gertrude and Ernesta move in and finish the job right on the heels of it. With the plan locked in, they slip into position, then from the bushes, Patra and Astrid peer out and spot the orc pack for real, confirming they're here. Patra orders Astrid to get ready, and Astrid drops her shotgun, nodding like, "I'm ready, so are you." But Patra cut her off mid-sentence. He gets the signal from Gertrude and the others, and she tells Astrid they've got to push forward. Then the two of them, they all lunge in sync, smashing forward with lightning-fast hits. Once they finally crack the orcs from behind, Gertrude and Ernesto explode into action, charging in and chopping them down with non-stop slashes. Then it all ends. The whole fight plays out like a masterpiece, and when it's over, Patria can't stop gushing, calling Astrid awesome, wondrous, and asking if they could somehow get a magic weapon like that, but Astrid shuts it down hard, saying it's basically impossible. Astrid finally realizes the brutal truth behind her terrifying firepower. She built it for the exact moment her coming destruction banner goes up, and she isn't about to hand it over to anyone. Then it hits her. Gertrude and the others are suddenly going into hiding, so why hide now when there are still orc survivors out there? Just as they're stunned, a colossal giant monster erupts into view and shakes the air with a roaring roar like he roars and devours one of the last remaining orcs. Astrid and Patra stared at the scene in stunned silence as then the monster finally takes off into the sky, and Astrid just groans, "There goes our bounty for the orcs." Astrid turns to Patra and asks if she thinks a quest to kill the dragon is coming. Patra answers. He answers with total confidence that it's definitely going to happen, then instantly leans in and asks Astrid if she wants to join in. Astrid smirks and dives into a plan, convinced a dragon is the perfect test subject to help her cook up even more brutal modern weapons. Patra fires off a reminder. Dragons don't just fly, they unleash magic, and they'll wreck you if you're careless, but she also believes Astrid's power, plus their teamwork, is enough to take one down. Decision made, the two set off right away to link up with Jared and the others first. That very day, they face a dragon. Astrid realizes the terrifying truth when it's standing right there. She can't do a thing, and all her power evaporates. And that's exactly why she's throwing a full-blown tantrum right now. She refuses to rely on firepower alone. Alone, she crawls back into the safety of her house range, fists clench, and starts forging a brand new weapon, because if she's going to take on this country someday, she'll need something way more powerful. Sure, anti-tank guns sound like the answer, but they don't pack nearly enough firepower to finish the job. Suddenly, a brilliant idea hits her, and she commits to it right then and there. Now it's time to forge a brand new weapon, so everyone gets tasked with digging up Gnome's flaws because today, he'll be the one hunting them down. Astrid can't contain her excitement as she pitches her big idea to Gnome. Then she's left wondering what happens next. They wondered if they could even build a tank then. Gnome shut it down, saying even if they managed to make it, it still wouldn't be able to move. He's right, because that main gun autoloader runs on electricity, but not a single elemental spell exists that can actually conjure it. Besides, even if she could somehow generate electricity, she wouldn't have the know how she was a humanities major, not someone who could craft a mechanism this intricate like an automatic reloader. If they didn't have that complicated mechanism, their firepower would get crushed fast, so she can't stop wondering if they could strip it down and make it simpler. So she drops to the ground and scrawls out a new idea, then asks Mr. Gnome if this alternate design could actually work, and he tells her it might. Yeah. At last, the thing's finished, and she slaps a name on it. The Type 0, 71, 20 milliliters rifle, basically a revolver blown way past reason, yet somehow it's still insanely badass. Known question. Questions whether this weapon would kick back like a raging bull and whether any human could survive holding it. Astrid's convinced she'll pull through. She cranks blood magic to the limit, then uses blue energy to smother the blast the moment it fires. Now she's fully geared up to take the shot the moment the target. 3 kilometers straight ahead, she snaps her aim into firing position and unleashes her shot, not stopping for a second. She doesn't stop at one shot, she keeps firing in rapid succession, grinding the trigger and refusing to let up. Right away, she realizes the aim is acting totally off, and that's when she remembers she'd been reading this in a magic book before it even hit the page. Astrid came back with one wild tale, a coachman who'd lost both arms, yet still whipped their carriages like a pro powered by plant magic, and then Astrid began. She starts wondering if she can do the same. Maybe she can boost that gun's accuracy if she makes it feel like it's an extension of her own hand. With that plan burning in her mind, she decides to go for it, using blood magic to fuse the weapon to her tiny frame by brushing a razor-thin layer of magic over its surface. She knows the rules too much magic and the shells could detonate, so she's got to be painfully, terrifyingly careful. Once her grip steadies, it stops feeling forced and starts feeling like it was always meant to be hers. And if she can make the targeting system lockstep with her own sight, that weapon turns into a nightmare. Then boom, to her shock, it works instantly as the reticle snaps right into her field of view. Fueled by that wind, she braces herself and sprints toward her next move. She steels herself, tries again, then fires once more, and this time, the shot smacks clean, no luck, just a perfect hit. Astrid's face lights up like a firework the second she sees the result. And when Blau asks if she nailed it, Astrid grins and declares it a total smash success, then swears she'll give her a cookie later, but here's the catch. She can only squeeze out 5 shots back to back, and the bullets are so huge she can't haul enough to last. And that's where everything falls apart. So yeah, she'll have to craft them right there on the spot, and that's exactly when she decides. For now, she pushes forward by testing a few more rounds with her brand new weapon so she can handle that problem later. Astrid's jaw drops as the scene cuts to her discovering they're planning a vacation right then. With every single member of the round table, Varia blurts out the real reason, like it's no big deal, she didn't summon some mystery at all. She just bought herself an insanely cute swimsuit and plans to use it as the perfect excuse to drag Astrid to her villa by stalling. She even tells Astrid, if you want, bring your classmates with you. Astrid starts to question this sudden plan right when Varia cuts her off with a hard, confident, it's already decided, then declares they're hitting the mall for swimsuit shopping together. They hit the market, and right as they roll in, Astrid wastes no time, she introduces her crew to Varia. Minnie and Latte step up and greet everyone with a polite smile, and Varia's face lights up. She's genuinely thrilled to meet them, and she can't wait to spend today together. Astrid pushes them to rush to the store right now, practically vibrating with excitement to start shopping. Just as everything was lining up, Astrid suddenly snapped her head toward the noise. Someone was shouting nearby, and before they could react, the robbery chaos erupted in Prague. Without a second thought, Astrid rockets toward the chaos and sprints up to a young girl who just got shoved to the ground by a thief on the run. She snaps in to check if the girl's hurt, and the moment she looks closer, she realizes the child is in terrible shape. But the little girl won't back down. She screams that the real emergency is the thief snatching her store's sales money. As Astrid locks eyes with the girl, a weird flash of familiarity hits like she's seen her before, somewhere out of her memory, then the girl immediately. She lunges to her feet and sprints after the thief, then Astrid slams the brakes on her. He stops her mid-step, realizing that in her condition, she'll never lay a hand on him again. Astrid decides to take control for herself, cranks up her physical power, and charges after. Use the culprit. When she finally squares up to the man, she reminds him that even aristocrats have to work for honest money and that he has to do it the right way. No theft, because he needs to move with speed. With ruthless precision, she lands a crushing kick that sends him crashing to the ground, then blasts earth elemental magic to pin him down. Tight, he can't wriggle free. Right after that, the girl barrels in, sprinting up to Astrid to see if she's okay. Astrid calms her down, hands back the stolen money, and that's when the girl finally realizes she's bleeding badly. The girl insists she's fine, yet the moment the injury hits, she snaps into instant healing right there. The wound seals itself like it never happened. Astrid stares in stunned silence as the blood magic proves stronger than anything she can do. With her curiosity buzzing but her gut uneasy, Astrid finally demands the girl's name. A young girl steps up and tells everyone her name, Elsa Eckhart, then proudly says she works at the bakery right around the corner. Why, the second Astrid hears that name, her face drains of color. Elsa Eckhart, the game's heroine who wishes on a shooting star, and then in the game, Astrid remembers every detail like it happened yesterday. Her followers show up out of nowhere as Astrid snaps at Elsa, snarling that only a fool would let a common nobody get anywhere near Lord Frederick. And she makes it brutally clear people like them should stay in their lane. Right then, one of the capture targets burst in like a storm, calling out the aristocrats for abusing a helpless girl and shouting that their cruelty was unforgivable. Despicable. He'd pinned Astrid as the ringleader of the bullies, swore she'd pay for it, and even threatened that her house would be crushed in a... Exiled. That nightmare flashes in Astrid's head, and it slams into her. She can't let another misunderstanding spiral. Like last time, she decides she has to win Elsa over fast, make a perfect first impression, so nothing derails from the original storyline. With her hands rubbing together in pure nerves, Astrid checks Elsa again and blurts out if she's hurt anywhere else. Begging to know what more she can do, Elsa reassures her everything's okay and thanks her for the help she's already given. With a bright, warm smile like the real protagonist she is, Elsa tells everyone she's just relieved Astrid isn't hurt, only for Astrid to get hit with this dazzling aura from Elsa, like a powerful presence closing in, and suddenly she can barely keep her composure. Closure just then, Astrid's friends burst in from behind, shouting her name like they've been chasing her forever after she finally said goodbye. Elsa gets her goodbye and Astrid sprints back into the group only for Minnie to blurt out, "Wait, we were shocked when you just vanished." Astrid then tells her the truth. She'd locked eyes with a girl that grabbed her attention and she just had to talk to her for a moment. Soon, they start doubting they've really found the store Varya mentioned until Varya grins and swears they're in the right spot, proudly saying she's a regular here and that she'll lead them straight to the best swimsuits around. Inside, they start swapping outfits like it's a mission. Astrid stuns in a bikini while Lotte's cheeks explode in blush as she admits it's cute, just way too revealing for her. Minnie sizes up the design as bold and daring, yet secretly prays Adolf will think she looks absolutely adorable in it. Varya beams and tells you the bathing suit style was born in the neighboring kingdom of France and that it all started with a man named Louis Reard. The shopkeeper tells them the special changing room is totally empty so they can try on whatever they want. No one interrupting, not a soul. Later, she comes back to tell Varya fresh new items just landed, and the second those words hit, Varya's eyes light up. The shopkeeper. Keeper shows off a fresh batch of swimsuits and swears they're flying off the shelves fast. Varya immediately turns to Astrid and tells her to grab one of the new designs. Astrid freezes, saying an outfit that bold demands a physique that can actually carry it. Varya. Maria casually drops that she's been an AA cup since grade school, then tells Astrid she'll grow into one just as fast, making Astrid light up for a moment. Then it hits her. This wasn't just real life, it was a game. Her character's look never changed, not even once she hit high school, swimsuit scenes included. With her spirit sinking, she swaps the flashy look for a more modest swimsuit, though the sizes swing wildly, and the scene cuts off mid-thought. She shrugs off the answer, then whips around to Manet and Lotte begging one of them to try the other design on. Even offering to foot the bill only for the girls to panic and refuse at once, swearing that a top-tier item like that is way out of their league. After racking up a bunch of wins with those purchases, Astrid turns to Varya and pours out a heartfelt, sincere thank you for everything. Just before they're about to head out, Astrid suddenly blurts that she wants to make one more stop and asks if it's okay. Varya nods instantly, teasing her like, "So you're gonna hit that store for breast pads?" Astrid shoots back with a furious, crystal clear no. She's standing in the bakery right now, and Astrid leans in like it's a secret she's been hearing rumors that this place churns out downright delicious food. Good news, she got here even sooner than in the original game timeline, and she knows exactly what that buys her time to make sure Minnie and the others start clicking with Elsa before it's too late. With that thought driving her, Astrid bursts into the bakery, greeting the morning with a calm smile as she steps inside. The other girls in the shop whip their heads around, scanning everything with curious eyes and sharp little doubts, whispering that this place is way too modest for the kind of people they're used to and wondering if it's really meant for commoners. Their aristocratic noses basically leading the judgment. Elsa quickly closes in on Astrid and blurts out heartfelt thanks for the help she got earlier, but Astrid just smiles, brushing it off, saying she doesn't need gratitude because she's only here to buy bread, and yep, it's her absolute favorite. Astrid watches the whole exchange unfold and can't believe how warm everything turns. So now she's quietly praying that if this keeps up, Mine and the others won't be so harsh on Elsa. But just like that, Manate strides up, tells Elsa to wait, and the whole moment flips in an instant. Right then, she snaps the truth in place. This girl in front of her isn't just anyone. She's a duke's daughter, and it makes Elsa's oddly familiar behavior feel way too bold. Elsa blurts out an immediate apology, saying she'd spotted it from Astrid's uniform from the very start that she was an aristocrat. Astrid waves it off again, swearing she really doesn't care, then drops the whole thing and leans in at the bread display, going, "Everything looks so good, I can't pick just one, Elsa's eyes pop wide with shock as she wonders, does Astrid really mean it when she says she's going to buy something? Mina barrels forward again, slamming Elsa with sharp questions and hinting she's probably just browsing, while Astrid lunges in to stop her, desperate to keep her from making it worse or accidentally triggering the destruction alarm Mina is already worried about. Elsa shoots out another rushed apology, claiming it's only because she's never sold a thing to an aristocrat before. Then Astrid steps in fast, trying to quiet everyone as she admits she totally gets why they're freaking out, especially after Elsa bursts in out of nowhere. After finishing her purchase, she thanks them from the bottom of her heart, then turns to leave. As Astrid walks away, she can't shake the feeling that things could have gone way smoother. She knows Mine's a genuinely good girl, but that aristocratic pride keeps getting in the way, way more than Astrid ever expected. Still, she keeps telling herself, Elsa won't turn dangerous until high school, so she grabs onto the hope that the future can still be rewritten. Varia shouts at Astrid, saying she's way too close to the commoners, then points out how adorable the girl in the bakery looks and how she might be hiding serious talent for magic. Astrid answers with quiet confidence, saying she just knows His Highness Frederick and the people he leads would welcome someone like her, too. The girls light up and gush that His Highness really does care for ordinary folks, and that he's ready to live by their values, while Varia can't help thinking, maybe this is what it means to be a maiden in love, since everyone's reading of the situation feels just a little warped. At last, the day everyone's been waiting for swimming day explodes onto the calendar, and the lake looks unreal. Crystal clear water glowing under the bright sky, while the whole place buzzes with pure excitement and can't wait energy. Mine spots Astrid the second she steps in, pointing out that she's brought that same strap again, hitching it to her back. And Astrid just stays cool, smiling that it's her favorite and she feels she has to pack it with her, because there's a real chance she'll run into a monster out there. Then she adds that the holster is sealed up tight by elemental magic, so even while she's out at the lake having fun, she stays ready for anything. Harriet shouted at Astrid to look back, and when Astrid turned, the sight of the girls hit her like a punch so stunning it made her realize their beauty wasn't just different, it was on a whole other level. Varia lights up and urges them to march over and show their swimsuits to that gentleman nearby. Like she can't wait for the attention, but Astrid feels uneasy and softly pushes back, insisting. Astrid tells them to ditch those plans and just have fun in the water. Then she jabs a finger toward a nearby water monster float and starts explaining. So they're imagining it, betting they can play on it, then slide down together, and trust me, that's going to be way more fun. She throws the invite out to everyone, urging them to kick back, laugh, and soak up the carefree vibes. Right then, Frederick and his crew come charging in from behind, clocking the whole lively scene, and they can't help but grin, because it honestly looks like everyone's having the time of their lives. Their arrival flips the whole mood on the spot, and Astrid instantly clocks them as the trio of doomsday landmines, because she can practically feel fresh trouble creeping in. Patrick strides up with a bright, gleaming grin, shouts Astrid's name, and praises her swimsuit, saying it fits her perfectly, even if it's a little daring only for Astrid to have trouble catching every word he's saying, and she grabs just a few words, stuck wondering if he said her swimsuit looked amazing because these people are straight up landmines, and one wrong step can blow up your whole day in ways you never see coming. Beria keeps his eyes locked on the two of them as they trade smiles, and then an idea clicks into place. Without warning, the idea sparks in her head, and she lights up, pushing everyone to jump on a boat ride together. Astrid nods on the spot, grinning and saying she'd love to ride with Varia too. Then she pauses. With a sly move, he drops Astrid on a boat right next to Frederick, and Astrid blurts that she'd secretly been hoping to ride together with him. Ignoring it, Varia scoots in close to Frederick and murmurs something into his ear right before the chieftain cheered everyone on with a huge grin, made the whole outing feel like a fun boat date, especially for every couple there. She's blazing with pride, convinced she nailed it and handled everything perfectly. Frederick launches into paddling the boat, grinning as he says it's one of those rare, truly pleasant days. Astrid shot him a slightly annoyed look, gave a quick answer, then admitted he'd caught Varia chatting about a beautiful cave nearby right in. Astrid's eyes light up at the word cave, and she can't help but think, Let's go together, this could turn into the wildest adventure. When they finally crash through the cave entrance, she stares in awe because it's unbelievably beautiful, and Frederick's eyes light up. This place looks incredible. He suggests they push deeper and explore more, and Astrid immediately fires back that it's the perfect plan. They jump off the boat and start scanning the world around them, wide-eyed and alert, like something big is about to happen. The magistrate jolts, then spots a kelpie out of nowhere, and her mind snaps back. She remembers the legend says these monsters rip people straight into the water, drown them, then tear into their flesh, and she's finally breathing easy because she brought her dun along. Frederick clocks her reaction and snaps, asking what's wrong. Then she realizes he hasn't noticed the creature at all. The rocks have been blocking his view the whole time, and as the truth hits, she blurts it out for a bria. For a split second, she hesitates, wondering if the kelpie's truly gentle. Wouldn't it be a shame to pull the trigger? But then the Cree. Its face sells her on one terrifying truth. It's already eyeing her like the next meal, so she decides she has to strike it down before it gets any closer and turns into. Astrid blurts out to Frederick that caves freak her out, then begs him to go in first and see if anything terrifying is lurking inside. The moment she asks, his excitement lights up his face. He promises she can trust him with everything, and when he steps in, she tells him to go at his own pace, calmly assuring him she'll be waiting just fine outside. The second he vanishes from sight, she yells for Blau and he shows up at once, like he'd been waiting. Immediately, she shows up, Astrid snaps for Blau to shut her gun down, and Blau shoots back with total confidence that he'll take care of it perfectly. Astrid yanks out her rifle and takes down the kelpie in a blink, then pats her weapon like a proud parent admiring a kid's big win. Right then, Frederick storms back and says the cave looks gorgeous, deeper in, and that he ran into 0 dangerous monsters or threats. Astrid freezes for a split second, hit with how perfectly timed it all is, then snaps back to herself and thanks him wholeheartedly. Keep walking deeper into the cave, and Frederick clocks her unusual bounce right away, so he asks what happened while he was gone. She shrugs it off, says nothing's wrong, and grins like she's on top of the world after wiping out a monster with her beloved gun. Convinced this whole trip just turned into the kind of vacation that actually feels fulfilling. Meanwhile, watches scattered across the distance couldn't stop whispering to each other, convinced everyone was even more adorable, and way closer after that boat date. Blau's face hardens as fury spikes. She demands more sweets like she's owed them, and Astrid just stands there, stunned and confused, trying to figure out why Blau is acting this way all of a sudden. Laus erupts in shouting, and Astrid finally gets the reminder, no matter how much she helps her, Astrid always slips up and forgets to hand over the revolved cookies. And it's all thanks to Blau. Astrid's firearms automatically tame the recoil and drown the blast noise the second she fires. Hearing that, Astrid caves in and shoves Blau with a mountain of sweets so much that Blau's eyes fill with tears, and she can't help wondering if she's really the one who's supposed to get every single treat. Astrid grabs her by the shoulders and promises she can eat anything she wants, so she finally lets herself go. Astrid flashes a grin and says she's heading right back to her own snack. Then the moment hangs. This instantly kicks Blau's rage back on, because she can't believe Astrid is snatching her sweets, and she blurts out the question on the spot. Richard freezes, totally baffled what is Blau even talking about, when sweets are right there for the taking. Before she can blink, she realizes the whole plate is completely gone. She had to admit it, Blau himself couldn't have shoved down that much in such a blink. And then it hits her. Her own cake is gone too. As Astrid starts to sweat with worry, she can't shake the feeling that something's way off, because right now, it's just her and Blau in this moment. But she brushes it off and swears it has to be a ghost or at least something just like it. Fed up to the bone, she yanks out her gun and starts blasting like crazy, screaming that even ghosts should just drop dead. Why? The only thing dropping out of the sky are the pitiful sweets meant for Blau, and it'll all come crashing down sooner or later. Soon, she hears a shaky voice blurt out non-stop apologies, then 2 fairies come into view, trembling with terror, and swear they won't take the sweets ever again while begging for forgiveness. Astrid's brows knit with confusion for a split second, then the excitement hits, and she snatches up the 2 fairies, already thinking. She's convinced she's finally gotten her own fairies, but then it hits her. Wait, maybe she isn't a fairy at all. And she's been waiting for ages, hunting for the perfect chance to grab even more fairies. She leans in and asks if they'll sign a contract with her. Melk whips his head toward Ruth, like, wait, what do we do now? While Astrid lays it out, make a contract with her and you'll get a treat exactly like the one they snagged earlier every single day. The moment those words hit, the decision's already made and they sign on the spot. No second guessing, while Blau's rage explodes. She can't believe her contract left her out of the snacks until Astrid steps in and promises she'll get the exact same treats too, and that finally calms everything down. All 3 fairies erupted with joy, and as the moment finally wrapped up, Astrid stared into the quiet and realized fairies were way too easy to steer this. Astrid bristled the second she spotted those meddling landmines popping up again, and just as her nerves were fraying, Frederick strolled over with a big grin and said, "The weather felt perfect," she answered politely, nearly losing it, wondering why she sounded like she was actually in a good mood. Ever since that vacation, something snapped in him. He's been badgering her nonstop, like he can't stop, even when she tries to. Even though she'd rather pretend he doesn't exist, she knows that brushing him off could light the destruction flag and shove her straight into serious trouble, so she's determined to. To dodge that disaster, she shoots off a plan on the spot, pretending she's rushing like crazy so she can slip out of his sight without him even noticing. Even as she tries to slip out, Frederick just bursts into a run beside her, grinning and calling it a lucky chance meeting while she flashes a calm line about his strong legs. On the outside, her gut screams for him to back off, because being the start of her destruction letter already feels like more than she can survive. At last, she reaches Elsa's bakery, then swings the door open, and Elsa's face lights up with a warm greeting as Astrid answers back, thrilled to say she's back for good. Elsa mimics the door, just like before. Elsa's stomach drops the second she sees Astrid's pale face, and she frets that something's wrong until Astrid laughs it off, tells her she's totally fine, and hands Elsa a little gift. Elsa takes the flowers with a bright smile, thanking her and praising their amazing fragrance, then turns to Astrid and asks if she wants to try a brand new dessert. She stares at the bread, awestruck by its gorgeous rose color, then the second she takes a bite, her eyes light up because it's insanely good, bursting with cool berry sweetness and a satisfyingly chewy bite. Elsa leans in and admits she crafted the breath herself, and it all started with Astrid's picture. She cranked out bright rose-colored dough to mimic her silky red hair, then nailed that soft, smooth texture and a subtle sweetness that screamed her personality. Before she ever met Astrid, Elsa thought aristocrats were nothing but terrifying monsters in fancy clothes. She's filled with heartfelt gratitude for Astrid's kindness since the moment they met, and that inspiration hits so hard she builds bread modeled after Astrid, with her master giving her permission to use the kitchen. Impressed then, Elsa leans in and asks Astrid if she truly thinks she could become a great baker. Astrid lets out a quiet chuckle, but deep down she's like, who's ever going to be brave enough to tell Elsa that she's going to be an empress one day? Suddenly, Elsa's master yells her name, and right then, Elsa has to apologize to Astrid, because she's being pulled away to return. She heads to work, waves goodbye, thanks Astrid one more time, and begs her to stop by soon so they can talk again. Astrid strides out of the bakery clutching the bread, and that ache Frederick caused in her heart finally starts to loosen its grip. However, back at school, she finds Frederick sitting beside her again like nothing happened at all, and she can't figure out why. Nothing's happened then, she suddenly runs out of ink, and Frederick steps in, offering. He hands her his own pen and blurts out that it's his favorite because it feels so easy and reassuring that she can grab it without even hesitating. He looks like the perfect good guy, but she's not into him yet. Somehow, he's still the very reason her world collapses. She clutches the bag and thanks him from the bottom of her heart because for Elsa's sake, he honestly seems made for this, and even with everything racing ahead faster than it ever did in the game, she's decided getting the two of them together is exactly what has to happen. She's got to clear this landmine off her path right now. No delays, no chances. Elsa is stunning, sweet, and shockingly charming, and Astrid is convinced that if Frederick ever met her the right way, he'd fall for her without a doubt. Just to make sure those two fall for each other, Astrid lays out the plan ahead of time and sets everything in motion. Friends, she strides up to her crew and asks if they want to try a love potion, and the moment the idea lands, they light up and say yes on the spot. That love potion is blood magic made to crank your heart rate into overdrive, flooding you with wild excitement until your brain insists you're actually in love. Astrid pulls out the blood magic formula she needs for the potion and fires off a reminder fast. And she finds out the hard way that these formulas can't be messed with. Because if anything goes wrong, you never know what kind of disaster will hit. Yet her friends shoot back with fierce, eager determination. They break it down step by step, heat and sterilize one drop of blood carrying the formula, then gently stir that treated drop into melted chocolate softened with a warm water bath. Then you can grab that mixture to bake cookies or other sweets after that, pour it into molds, let it harden, and once it's all set, the potion's done, and the second they finish, Latte freezes, because what if eating something brewed with blood is truly unsafe? Astrid reassures them. It reassures them with total confidence, saying the blood gets properly sterilized through heat, and even if the blood itself gets denatured, the magic still stays exactly as it was. Once the potion was finally finished, Astrid leaned in and said, "The last step was easy. Make the person it's meant for. Drink it right there, in front of them." She pulls her friends back to the real point. This spell doesn't promise anyone will fall in love. It only sets the emotional stage where those feelings might spark. So they've got to grab attention and show up as irresistible as they possibly can. They straighten their back, renewed their resolve, and declared, "Now I get it." Astrid steps up and lays out her ideas, telling Minnie to try a garter belt to sharpen her look, and suggesting that Latte might boost her charm by showing a little more of her chest. With everything ready, the three of them launch their plan for real. Secretly, he keeps his eyes on Latte as she closes in on Sylvia. Nerves are making her shaky. With shaky nerves, she blurts out a good luck wish, then shoves some homemade chocolate into his hands and asks if he'll taste it. He takes the chocolate, swallows his nerves, and says he'd be thrilled to try it, then blushes hard. "King," Latte fires off. "What do you think?" And right then, his heart starts pounding, heat rushes into his cheeks, and he blurts out that it tastes absolutely amazing. In that scorching moment, Latte blurts out, asking if he'd date her, and he answers on the spot, no hesitation saying yes as long as she feels good about it. Seeing it all unfold, Astrid can't sit still. Her landmine disposal plan is finally moving toward victory. She didn't just watch the love potion work, she pulled off the real miracle, two making Adolf and Minnie fall for each other, and once it happened, she thanked her friends like crazy, calling them an absolute top-tier landmine disposal squad. Once the potion's power was confirmed, the only thing left was to figure out how to get Elsa and Frederick in the same room, because after that, she decides maybe the only way to know is to test that potion on her own romantic interests. She shouts for Bernard, holding out the chocolate she made and asking if he wants to taste it, then he thanks her right back. Astrid flashes a polite smile, takes the treat from Eva, and accepts it like she's earned it. He leans in, eager to hear what he thinks, and when he answers, he calls it delicious, then he calmly points out the truth. It's been spiked with a love potion, and he knows because his heart rate suddenly spikes. He jokes that pranks like this have been around forever between them, but he still thanks her for the treat, and honestly, it's just sad. Poor. Astrid breaks down in tears when she finally realizes it wasn't a prank at all. She really has a maiden's heart, and it comes with real feelings, and meanwhile, Elsa, completely in the dark, can only worry about what happened to Astrid, hoping she'll feel better after eating the... Astrid's on a mission to win Bernard's heart once she's finished dodging her own ruin, and she can't stop replaying how good it felt when Elsa gently patted her head. The bread. That little gesture still warmed her heart. Even as she snapped back to reality, she suddenly knew she had to get Elsa to meet Frederick. Right after that, she asks Elsa how her day off went, and Elsa spills every detail. She lays it out plain her schedule lives or dies by how slammed the story gets, so her free days are basically a mystery. Hearing that, Astrid immediately realizes this world has zero labor laws. That night, Elsa lights up and tells everyone the day felt amazing, then swears she'll bake Astrid that bread again when she visits. Next time Astrid laughs and says she's got a part-time job and that she'll need Elsa to be there again in 3 days. Elsa's face shifts with shock as she blurts out, "Wait, if someone like you has to work part-time, what kind of hard life is aristocracy really?" Astrid originally meant to take Elsa to meet Frederick, but when she stopped and really thought it, Elsa's juggling life as a working girl, so instead of doing it the hard way, she decides it's smarter to bring Frederick along. Then Astrid bolts off to find him and calls out to him, begging him to join her for a walk. Frederick agrees on the spot, and Astrid finally lets out a satisfied breath, because it feels like the perfect stage has just been set. Right when they're about to kick things off, Bernard shows up out of nowhere and demands their help hauling materials to the classroom. He makes it crystal clear he plays no favorites, Prince or Duke's daughter. They're all the same to him while Astrid grimly clocks the worst possible timing. Because sure, she's usually eager to help Bernard. But today, Frederick whips around to her and insists they should absolutely help, then swears they can push the outing to tomorrow, so Astrid begrudgingly caves, and once again, their plans get slammed back and delayed. The next day, right after school, Astrid loiters outside the gate, buzzing with anticipation. Then Frederick shows up and tells her that he's just been slammed with urgent news, his mother is injured, and he has to bolt back to the castle right now. Astrid begs him to watch his own back. She bids him farewell, but frustration burns inside her because all she wants is to get Elsa and Frederick together, and every time she tries, life keeps yanking her back, interrupting her plans, until suddenly she remembers. In the game story, the very first time Elsa and Frederick cross paths happens right at the high school entrance ceremony, and as she sees it unfold, doubt hits her hard. What if they're only meant to meet here and nowhere else? Still, he couldn't stop wondering if fate or the world itself was forcing his hand in some unavoidable way. Still, she refuses to accept any of those limits. Next day, Frederick storms back and tells Astrid his mother only bruised her fingers, nothing serious at all. Then Astrid brushes it off and makes it clear she wanted him to stay and spoil her for a while. He leans in and reassures Astrid that today finally he's got nothing but time for her. Right when Astrid starts to feel hopeful, another teacher swoops in and calls for help from both of them. Astrid's hopes immediately collide with something more. It feels like fate is laughing at her, like destiny or doom is crashing her plans, and inside her head, she's already warning from now on, Nobody dares get in her way because she's done waiting, having. She hits her breaking point, snatches Frederick's hand, and bolts into a full sprint, refusing to let anyone cut her off again. Udrich can't believe her own behavior when she hears what she's saying in those remarks under her wild, free-spirited spirit clashing with Astrid's silent intensity. She clenches her teeth and prays she can break free from the crushing shadow of her own destruction, even though she knows it won't be easy. Frederick, after everything, still treats her like she's ice-cold, cool at last. Astrid finally bursts into the bakery and shouts for Elsa, sure her long-awaited plan is about to work until the man inside tells her Elsa slipped out early that morning to head to her master's residence for training. He doesn't know when she'll be back, could be a week, or it might stretch to a whole month. When Astrid hears it, tears suddenly burn behind her eyes because this is happening just like the game. Then the man hands her some sweets and tells her Elsa made them specially for Astrid right before she left. Finally, today, we catch Astrid at the Adventurer Guild, eyes locked on the quest board as hope burns in her chest only for the page to be blank of any dragon-slaying request again. She can't shake the feeling that the mission to take down that dragon is gone, and every unanswered thought leaves her questioning the point of it all. So, tell me what's the real reason for this silence? Does the country honestly think it's fine to leave dragons out there by themselves without stepping in? Petra hesitates, unsure what to do, and then another adventurer cuts in and lays it out bluntly. If they want to beat dragons, this country has to cough up a mountain of money. Authorities, he claims, try to dodge giant quest payouts because if a mission goes wrong, the whole place could explode into widespread destruction. So they won't rush into action just because a dragon shows up? Astrid breaks it down like something out of the movies she grew up on back then. The second a monster shows up, the moment calls up self-defense and everything kicks into gear. Suddenly, the door flies open and someone rushes in, yelling that he's bringing awful news. Ram's village has been attacked by a dragon, and while nobody's been killed, homes and livestock are wrecked. The reception. The receptionist snaps into action, fires off a sharp announcement, and instantly grabs everyone's attention because a special emergency quest has just been issued. He strides up to the board and slams up an announcement, saying the country has officially thrown its hat in the ring to seek a dragon subjugation, and that applications for the quest will be open right away. Astrid feels a jolt of relief and pure excitement, certain her long-awaited moment is finally here, and that her life is about to run exactly how she was promised it would, so she braces herself for the life-saving exercise she's sure will pay off, and even flicks a brief, almost pitying thought to the doomed dragon. Already picturing it as the living sacrifice meant to keep her from dying, Astrid feels a jolt of relief and pure excitement, certain her long-awaited moment is finally here, and that her life is about to run exactly how she was promised it would, so she braces herself for the life-saving exercise she's sure will pay off, and even flicks a brief, almost pitying thought to the doomed dragon, already picturing it as the living sacrifice meant to keep her from dying. Astrid can't stop feeling like the quest is straight up lucky because it's set for a full week, but she keeps her guard up anyway. She quietly tells Minay that her and Frederick have plans this weekend, so if her dad or mom calls, Minay should cover for her and say Astrid's still in the dorm. No questions, no slip-ups, all. Astrid keeps Minay in the dark while she steers the real truth. Sure, it's a shortened version, not the whole quest story, but it still isn't a complete lie. With everything set in stone, Astrid charges out with her party to take on a dragon and settle this quest for good. Riding the carriage, she can't help but stare at the amazing gear everyone around her is rocking. Astrid's party snaps her attention, and then Gertrude cuts in, telling everyone a dragon's been spotted near the heart of the Aegean Basin. Though the basin isn't huge and it looks just right, like the whole party can close in around the creature with room to spare. Petra blurts out, "Let's try to fight and kill the dragon right here," and Astra instantly nods in agreement. She nods along, pointing out that the basin gives them a perfect unblocked view so the prey can't slip away past those little hills. Then she lays out the whole plan, unleash their artillery to blast the dragon's wings and eyes, slice off every way it could flee, and swarm it with forces that outnumber it. It's basically warfare, 101, and she's deadly sure they'll crush the beast. Ernesta voiced real worry about the dragon's size, the one they'd faced in the forest, and the fear hung in the air as she said that. That thing was massive, big enough to laugh in the face of 100 years, and it screams one brutal truth. What lies ahead won't be simple. Gertrude, citing the guild records, declares the dragon that tore in from the Garm Mountains is about 30 years old. Then Petra squints and calls out a possible mismatch. Petra makes it clear if things go south, you can always fall back. There's no punishment for bailing on a quest like this. Gertrude nods along, admitting the prize looks irresistible, but the party's lives matter more. And as they near their destination, she snaps everyone into readiness, pushing the group. The whole crew nods in unison, ready to move at any second. No hesitation. Astrid clenched her resolve, leveled her rifle, and charged straight for that brutal dragon ready to take it down for good. Once they step out of the carriage, the whole party surges into the forest, and Gertrude asks what lies ahead. Then, people reported that nothing seemed off, then suddenly Petra barks an order for everyone to wait, one that totally messes with their heads at first. Then they rush forward anyway. Toward her, he spotted a tree twisted at a sickening angle and couldn't stop himself from noticing it. Spotting a huge footprint right nearby, they instantly snap into high alert. Even so, Astrid's chest bursts with pure exhilaration. She can't wait to dive into what's coming, because there's no mistaking it. These are unmistakable dragon footprints. Even after the ground got stomped flat, the grass stays stubbornly green like something massive is nearby, and that dragon is right around the corner. Astrid drops into a crouch and leans in to study the prints up close. She leans in close, mind sprinting as she stares at that massive quarry, and when she spots the footprint smaller than the dragon they'd faced on that earlier quest, she freezes. Gertrude snaps everyone's attention back to the assault strategy they heard about in that leaders' meeting, the exact plan for how the attack's going down. Astrid weighs it all in her head, simple but brutal. Every mage's spell and every archer's arrow gets shoved into one goal, pummeling that dragon until it drops. She laughs it off, saying anyone who picks a fight with the dragon without the right plan will get reduced to nothing but charcoal. The approach is simple, yet it's smart. Good. Gertrude shoots Astrid and Petra a sharp apology, then tells them they'll have to stand right at the front of the attack. Astrid Restored nods, grinning as her mind jumps straight to the payday. They'll all be rich the second that dragon drops. Pride surges through her because her new magic actually shines here, and dragons are the perfect target for it. So she pushes harder, insisting the dragon must be slain with their full, unstoppable team behind her. Gertrude steadied the group, promising that when things turn grim, they'll shield Astrid and Petra, then pushed everyone to team up and drive that dragon back. Suddenly, Petra whips into action and clamps her hand over Astrid's mouth, signaling her to go silent right now, signaling her to lock eyes in that exact direction. She keeps up the motion, and then boom! Her eyes fly wide when she realizes the dragon is right in front of them. Half the party starts slipping back in silence, ready to whisper the signal because the dragon has been spotted. Astrid. With a mischievous smirk, she grins heart-pounding as she quietly studies the dragon, ready to strike, dead set on being the one who lands the final blow. Boom! The party fires off the exact signals they agreed on, and then the other groups start moving too. They hauled in the news fast. Yep, the smoke signal was received, and they understood it loud and clear. Astrid watch. She watches the preparations kick into motion, her focus locking onto what's coming next, and then she spots Astrid closing in on Petra with a sharp, puzzled look. Petra just smiles and says she's brought a special oil-based explosive meant to hit dragons hard, and yeah, she explains it with terrifying certainty. Petra whips around to Astrid and demands to know why she isn't carrying anything, clocking that she's showing up with nothing but empty hands. Astrid steps in and explains why she came that way, her story starting right there. Her brand new anti-dragon weapon is so huge, there's no way she can haul it around fully built, so she's decided to forge it right on the spot. Petra warns that dragons can't ignore magic. It flares their senses the moment weapons are forged, even if they're just lying down, and that means starting too early could wake one up before the real attack even begins. So if they want this plan to work, every move has to be precise and the timing has to be perfect. While the last preparations fall into place, another group strides up to Astrid and Petra and asks, "You two ready yet?" Astrid snaps the signal that everything's set, and the instant finally hits the moment is here. With a silent nod, the whole party surges forward and kicks off the full assault on the dragon. Astrid snaps into position, her heart hammering as anticipation crashes in because this is it. The showdown where she finally proves the full might of her brand new 120mm rifle. As the very first blow crashes through the trees, the forest shudders and Astrid realizes the dragon's endgame is finally starting. She backs off at once so she can set it in motion. While the other side scratches their head, totally baffled, they're thinking, what in the world is this? It looks like something a Gertrude kid magician would whip up. Astrid stood right in front of the dragon, smiled, and blasted it straight at him while the others, they're all watching, wondering if she'll actually pull it off with their support. Surprise right then. The dragon flares its wings and blasts into the sky. That leaves Astrid's stomach dropping, because it didn't finish him off and his skin feels like armor. Everyone else shoots it down, saying, this is seriously not a good sign. The dragon etched into a symbol erupts and starts blasting his flames at everyone, and even the fireproof gear looks like it's about to melt under the heat. Right then, Gertrude bursts in and raises her shield, launching it into action, rallying everyone to keep the attack going, because she swears the guards will shield them no matter what. And right there, Astrid is absolutely glowing because Gertrude just proved, with no doubt at all, that she's the real deal as an adventurer. The other party snap back that now is not the moment to freeze, then they surge ahead as the dragon unleashes its fury. Blazing flames blasted toward them at full speed, and the vanguard snapped into defensive formation, shielding everyone from the brutal barrage. The attackers crank up the pressure and set their sights on the dragon's wings, smashing them hard so they can drop it to the ground right where the vanguard can crash into the fight. Meanwhile, Astrid just sulks there, furious and crushed because her Type 0 7 120mm rifle can't punch through the dragon's stomach. She realizes brute force won't cut it, so she locks in on the plan, then joins the crew to bring that creature down together. Effort, with pure grit, fueling every step, they all surge toward the dragon, and after a brutal, non-stop fight, they finally bring it crashing down, only to realize their next move is to fully disable it, to blind it so it can't strike back. But the plan falls apart fast, because the dragon's rampage keeps tearing through everything, wild and unstoppable. Petra seizes the moment she knocks the arrow, locks onto the dragon's eyes, and fires with ruthless precision, blasting it to pieces as she taunts it like, "Come on then." A dragon shrieks in pure agony as it senses the incoming, astounding Astrid, breathe in again and unleash the attack. She takes it all in the chaos, the panic, and suddenly realizes her moment of fate is finally here. She braces herself, sure the dragon will unleash its breath right as it starts to set up for the move. To set it free, she snaps her fingers and unleashes her blood magic. The others instantly shout that Astrid is about to make a deadly mistake and beg her to retreat, but she won't back down. Turd, she stands there with iron resolve, refusing to run, no matter how the dragon rages or how much destruction it brings. Wings she refuses to freeze and instead charges straight at it, weapon in hand. With raw focus and killer skill, Astrid whips the dragon down. Then the whole group explodes into cheers, buzzing with victory, because Astrid already knows. She scribbled to herself that the dragon looked way smaller than it had the last time she faced it on that quest. The others close in on her, blurting out that they've been watching her for a while and that her weapon is absolutely incredible. Astrid beams with pride in what she just pulled off, but right when she starts to celebrate, she trails off, because there's more coming. Still clueless that the dragon's fire breath is straight up magical, she's told by Gertrude this isn't just smoke, it's real fire, which means it's a fire dragon. Out of nowhere, Blau bursts onto the scene, and his virginly look makes it crystal clear something new and dangerous has just arrived. Astrid tells Blau, "I'll deal with you later," but Blau is all ready. Leo snaps that this is it, disaster level, and then a colossal wind elemental, fueled by clockwork magic, barrels straight. Blau locks onto it and knows this is the dragon lashing out at their attack. At last, the dragon finally shows up, and Astrid instantly spots it as the exact same creature as the fearsome fire dragon she faced back during her quest. Gertrude watches the dragon show up so fast and instantly realizes the truth. The fire dragon they just wiped out had a mate, and this one raced here to answer. The instant the dragon grabs its meeting partner, its eyes blaze open, and Gertrude feels the disaster coming the second it happens. Topic: flames suddenly roar out of the dragon with bone-chilling force, and the whole group feels it hit their bones. This magic power dwarfs the last fire dragon seriously. The size alone is terrifying, and the danger feels impossible to ignore as Panic screams, "Run!" because this dragon could wipe out everything in its path with one unstoppable blaze. Gertrude grabs Ernesta and Petra and blurts that things are getting dangerously out of control, then demands they evacuate right now. She shouts at Astrid to run yet. Astrid freezes, stuttering like the words won't come. She digs in her heels and refuses to let it happen. She's so determined that not a single person will die on her watch. Swearing they'll win this fight no matter what, even as they rise up on top of... Then she steels herself because they're getting their reward too. With stubborn grit in her bones, Astrid slams her weapon into the ground and blasts her elemental magic, shaping something truly unbelievable. The others stare in shock, not knowing what she just pulled off, and she waves everyone off, saying she'll soar for a second before leaving. They're left staring, totally stunned, as Astrid seemingly lifts off into the air, breathtaking, doesn't even cover it. Taking off her flight is powered by magic, and the sight is so wild that Gertrude and the others freeze in total shock at villainous Astrid's flying girl style. Petra doesn't look like she's running, she's just staring at the sky, wondering if she can actually lift off, fly straight up, and finally take down a fire dragon. Gertrude finally admits she's not sure, but Astrid's got everything mapped out until... She's back, and now it's their turn to defend everyone. Astrid. Soaring high over the dragon's other side, she hurls her elemental magic into a blazing rope, then rockets toward the beast on the other side. The dragon tears through everything, blasting danger at everyone within reach, while a wounded adventurer strains just to move, and Gertrude charges straight for him. He starts checking on him, yelling, "Are you okay? Stay with me," as he gets ready to heal him right before the drag. Dragon's flames can burn clear to adventurer. G, Artrude, and Ernest are in the blast zone. Anesta slammed into position and raised their shields to guard against the blast, but the flames' brutal pressure crashed through their defense, making it nearly impossible to hold the line. At the exact breaking point, Petra bursts in and rains arrows down on the dragon, but they prove to be in. That fire dragon's breath is so brutal and unstoppable that they can't even get close to their target. With zero hesitation, Petra shoots a quick decision. She backs Gertrude and Ernesta instead. She launched those explosive arrows to blast a shield around them, never wasting a shot on the dragon itself, while the two of them, with her assistants all together, she admits there's nothing the three of them can't pull off. They brace themselves to stay put until Astrid comes back then, at last. Astrid finishes her prep, slams through a weapon change, and calls up her anti-fire dragon's heavyweight, an absurd 155-meter monstrosity, then seals it as a single-use armament that's finally under her total control. The whole crew feels a wave of relief and pure adrenaline the second they spot this terrifyingly powerful tool. Then, Astrid perches on a hill, snickering like she's about to explode with anticipation because she knows the moment is coming. The moment hits, and she faces the dragon like it's showtime, flashing all this dramatic flair, daring it to come watch her opening act the steel. Steel-braided wires link every gun, and if she pours her blood magic through them, she can seize control of all of them at once like they're just extensions of her own arms. She raises her hand and orders the fairies forward, locking them into a razor-sharp, triangular formation around the fire dragon her contract was. With the fairies locked into her senses, she can peer through their eyes and map the dragon's location from 3 angles. This one right here. This way, she locks in perfect aim and makes sure every shot lands, then she yanks the rope for her 155mm one-time weapon. The rifle went off, and with it, every other weapon blasted at the exact same time. A fused barrage of shots hammers the dragon, every volley cracking down on it. Even with that, even as that dragon keeps scorching everything, it still won't look away. It glares at them, eyes stretched wide and blazing. Wide open, even Astrid, staring straight at the creature, can't deny its stubborn grit because she knows, from her past life, this is one of the deadliest land-based weapons she could have ever run into. Life. She snaps back to every warning from her past. These weapons are usually one-shot, built to be used only by her. But if she handles it right, she'll reload those rounds and be ready to fire again. As she slices through the sky, the dragon suddenly blasts a raging wall of flames straight at her. She braces herself, fully sure she's about to get incinerated until a sudden strike slices through the flames. Thanks to Astrid weakening the dragon earlier, Petra's arrows finally punch through the inferno, and that relentless barrage throws up a shield to keep everyone safe. Now get in there. They hold the battlefield in their grip, sure that side by side they'll smash the dragon, no casualties, and seize their... Astrid still clings to her mission like it's her last lifeline, and she shoots a quick signal that she'll be back in 5 minutes. Seeing how rock solid she's becoming, the others lock in and bet she's about to unleash round 2, another brutal assault on the dragon, so they regroup and combine their power to line up the renewed strike. The dragon spits out fire again, but its weakening body can't muster the same terror. This time, its blaze turns into something you can actually survive. Their endurance is already cracking at the edge, and inside, they can only pray please. Astrid, act fast. Astrid finally bursts in, breathless, and apologizes for the delay in the nick of time, and signaling she's ready to go when the team swings their trust behind her. He watches as she shoots them a confident look, then trusts them to her call and leaves the execution in her hands. That 120mm rifle hits the first fire dragon for real, even though it doesn't shine, especially when they aim for the abdomen, but once the 155mm rifles come out, it's game over, because they're the perfect tool for the job, the deadliest weapon in the whole game. It all boils down to pure numbers and overwhelming firepower. Astrid, fully ready, screams for a massive volley, 100 rounds of her deadliest ammunition. Then she raises the hammer and moves at the same time. At the same time, it blasts the 155mm rifles to jack up the devastation, then yanks the rope to fire the 120mm rifles too, so the combined assault can really truly make the... That one slot smashes the mega fire dragon into nothingness, and all that's left floating in the air is the chilling echo of its destruction. Astrid bursts with pure joy because she finally pulled it off and her weapon proves it's the best in the entire world. She thanks everyone from the bottom of her heart, making it crystal clear that every single person played a vital role in the... The battle rages on. She stands there with pride blazing in her chest, thinking, I helped, so what's my cut of the reward? As she touches down, she can't wait to spot Gertrude and the others right there. She realizes they vanished from view, like the world swallowed them whole, and then, suddenly, Gertrude lunges in from behind, clamps a grip on her as she comes to rest, and demands that she notices everyone acting weird, and her stomach drops. Are they accusing her of hogging the reward after she practically soloed the dragon? Or did she accidentally trip some other disaster warning without even realizing it? To her shock, everyone's roaring with cheers. This little magic sister just wiped out a 100-year fire dragon solo, and the crowd is calling it extraordinary. Astrid isn't just a magician's assistant anymore. She's a true dragon slayer. The dragon slayer sounds a little cheeky at first, but honestly, it's pretty pleasant. She feels Gertrude clamp down even tighter, and the others snap in. Your flame cylinder burst a huge column of fire, and we feared you'd been hurt. Petra starts to say, so. She never once doubted Astrid, but she admits that. That made it clear her worry was real. Astrid lets out a breath, eases back, and pulls them into a hug, finally sure they're all safe. Astrid says the final win only happened because everyone teamed up, so the prize should be sliced evenly for all. The other party members shout that if they don't do this, they'll feel sick with guilt, and Astrid jumps in, saying, fine, but if I ever get in trouble, you'll have my back and help me out. Right when she faces that destructive threat, she can't help but pray she'll rally them for backup, then everything turns, ultimately. Right now, she's getting a massive 600,000 marks reward plus allies she can actually count on. And while she's working the district, adventurers roll up and shout that she's the Dragon Slayer. Her friends are totally confused, like, wait, what? So Astrid tries to shrug it off, signals them, and brushes it all off with, it's nothing. Astrid knows her modern weapons have finally become strong enough to cut down even a fire dragon, so now the only thing left is what comes next. That enemy's military might obsession won't let up. She can't stop wondering what kind of brutal fighting forces even exist in a sword and sorcery fantasy world. Sun Tzu once warned that if you truly know the enemy and yourself, then you never have to fear what 100 battles can bring. And that idea hits her hard, sparking a burning need to uncover every last power lurking in this world. Her thoughts get yanked to a stop when Frederick calls her name, and her heart rockets from surprise straight into nerves like, why does he always show up at the worst possible time, leaving her on high alert instead? Even though nerves clamp down on her chest, she flashes a polite smile, hiding the sparks of irritation burning inside as he shows up out of nowhere. Frederick, as always, promises Astrid that if trouble hits, he'll be right there to help. She smiles with polite gratitude, but inside, she's fuming at how he never lets her breathe her mind. Still, her mind stays laser focused on her dreams. She keeps figuring out how to turn her skills and that scar into weapons of her own. Because deep down, she's scared her career might slip away and she refuses to stop wanting to become a combat magician. But deep down, he still can't shake the worry that he'll never truly understand how combat magicians work once real war turns the world into chaos. Frederick, thrown off by the idea that a duke's daughter could even dream of a path like this, just stands there thinking right before he hands her a chance to watch the next military exercise unfold. The second military enters the conversation. Her excitement flares because this Prussian Imperial Army exercise is the very machine that could crush her someday, and she's getting a rare, hands-on look at strategy straight from the source. Astrid thanks him again and again, because facing an enemy like that starts right here. The moment they finished talking, both sides leaned in with the same eager anticipation then, finally, at last, the long-awaited day finally crashes into reality. Astrid and Frederick slide into their seats, buzzing with pure anticipation. Training kicks off with friendly forces storming into the sim and blasting virtual targets so realistic it feels like the Japan Ground Self-Defense Forces Frederick. He waved her down and told her to chill, like she wouldn't have to strain a single ounce to keep up with what was unfolding. Astrid gives a calm nod on the outside, but inside, she locks in her plan ready to hide her real intentions and what she's really noticed. As the training grinds on, the soldiers behind them snap into formation, and Frederick jerks up while Astrid stares, baffled for a beat, until the whole line starts marching in sync and Frederick rises again. Every soldier snaps to attention, and then the air cuts booming words announce the Emperor's arrival. His Majesty has arrived. The Emperor praises every participant's grit and thanks them for their service. And as Astrid watches him, like she's studying a storm, awe hits her. In trembling waves, the Emperor. The Emperor cornered Frederick and demanded to know who the girl really was, snapping that military drills weren't there for the entertainment of women and children. Frederick tells him she's from the House of Oldenburg, confesses she dreams of becoming a combat magician, and admits she begged him to watch her demonstration. Astrid couldn't hide it. Her nerves were all over her, shivers running through her, because she never expected the Emperor to show up for a tiny little exercise like this. The Emperor slips aside and warns that iron and fire are about to roar back into the world. Then he remembers clear as yesterday a woman magician who, more than 100 years ago, blasted a fire dragon out of the sky. And he makes it brutal and simple when the fight hits. Everyone has to move, no exceptions. Not even women or children. She's caught in the middle of the conflict, secretly buzzing with, yes, I did it, I slew that fire dragon. But she holds her tongue because now is not the time to spell it all out. Once the Emperor drops into his chair, he tells his adjutant to start the exercise and warns that only those who The peace talkers better watch closely because now they're about to see what real combat is truly like. Richard watches Frederick normally calm, always wearing that serene little smile and can't stop wondering why he's here watching, especially when things with his father are tense. Then Frederick catches her staring. Her gaze locked on him and she smiled like a signal. This is it. The exercise is about to start, so watch closely. First, second, and third magical battles are about to kick off, and Astrid can't help but feel her heart race as she witnesses the Imperial Guard's full power. She spots the crossbows they're using, then she realizes they launch deadly bolts. Projectiles slammed into the scene, and she blurted out in shock at what looked like total destruction. So she figured, is that these magical tags were built to trigger explosions, and the estimates say, estimating they'd reach 40 to 50 meters and hit with power on par with a hand grenade, they turned into something you could actually hold, defend, and control. Next, the 1st Cavalry Regiment surges forward, and right behind them, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Infantry Battalions push in, marching their assault ahead. Astrid sizes them up and realizes they'd be ripped apart by machine gun fire, but with the numbers against her, she has to ration her magic to the bone or she'll run dry. The Emperor stares them down, slams the training as lacking, and laughs that these troops couldn't even beat mercenaries. Astrid gives a quiet nod, jolted by the fact she almost forgot mercenaries, whose someone with real battlefield experience and combat skill so sharp it could outmatch the regular army, so they vow to stay on guard no matter what. When the training ends, the adjutant rushes in and tells the Emperor, it's done. He fires questions at Frederick about what he's been seeing, and Frederick answers that the magic attacks still aren't packing enough punch to crack the enemy bunkers, so he insists the magic tags need to be way more potent. The Emperor warns, don't go blasting your strongest magic tags with crossbows, signals clash, and you'll miss your targets. And he insists the smarter move is using medium-powered tags in huge numbers, because that's what actually works in real fights. And he even pushes Frederick to think it through one more step. Frederick nods along, swallows his pride, and apologizes for every slip-up while Astrid stays silent, realizing why the Emperor is truly called the King of Soldiers. The weight of her hopes hits her so hard it almost crushes her, and the moment she imagines him as her future father-in-law, the pressure explodes even more. So she decides right there, she won't lean on him at all, and she'll trust these two capable hands instead. In the salon, Frederick clocked Astrid's grin and the pure shock in her eyes, like she was having the time of her life, but Astrid wasn't even looking at him. Her focus was fixed on the newest letters she'd started trading. She's only just begun to write like this, and it's totally mesmerizing her, while he can't stop wondering if she'd want to team up with him in this correspondence. She pushes back, asks what the point is, since they could just meet in the classroom or right here around a round table. Right then, Varia yells Astrid's name, and Astrid bursts into motion toward. He pulls her in close, murmuring that they should rally their spirit-filled round table for a get-together. He immediately latches onto the idea and declares it'd be amazing to invite the former students too. Then Varia chips in that Astrid can bring along her own friends as well, and the suggestion lands hard. That idea lights a fire in Astrid's eyes. Turns out lots of noble alumni are showing up too, and suddenly she sees a chance to forge powerful connections and maybe stop the next threat before it hits. She spots the perfect way to knock out multiple goals in one shot, so she nods in full excitement because she knows this gathering can fuel her ambitions and turn into an absolute blast too. Frederick answers right away. Thrilled she chose this, she shoves a letter into Varia's hands and asks if the senpais are coming too. Varia grabs it, confirms the invite is real for exactly who they meant, and vows to deliver it to the right address. Astrid buzzes with energy from all the planning, then darts off because she knows her schedule is about to explode into something busier than ever. Later, Astrid rushes to tell her parents about the upcoming gathering, and when her father doubts it, she straight up confirms it's real students and even former students will all show up, emphasizing, the stakes of the moment hit hard, so she orders 2 brand new dresses to celebrate it in style. And her father immediately nods along, promising she can have as many as she wants, because he knows her looks are going to hook His Highness Frederick's attention the moment he sees her. At long last, the night of the ball crashes in. Astrid is dressed to perfection, her outfit glittering like it was built for pure, spotlight-level grandeur. She takes in the scene in one sweep, the shimmering decorations, the elegant glow everywhere, and she can't help but glance at Bernard, wondering, for one stolen second, what it would feel like if he were escorting her. She spots a wolf in the crowd, and when she clocks who he is, an aristocrat, she openly acknowledges his presence. Her friends show up too, and Minette wastes no time. She praises Astrid, raving about how stunning she looks in that gown, and saying the men around them can't stop staring. Astrid fires back with a bright compliment, telling Minae and Latte they both look amazing too. Then Minae, eyes widening, can't help asking if His Highness Frederick is escorting Astrid tonight. Astrid smiles and says her father demanded she go with other company, because everyone in the crowd knows she won't be able to come back to their country. He takes one look at her, mutters about how stunning and graceful she is, and now everyone's buzzing, whose daughter is she? Astrid shouts Elsa's name and her face lights up the second she spots her in the crowd, like this simple reunion just kicked open the door to a night packed with fresh chances and a whole lot of mystery. Elsa strides up to Astrid and, with pure sincerity, thanks her for the invitation. Gasping with pure awe, Astrid even sent her a dress so beautiful it felt unreal. Elsa absolutely channels the heart of a true heroine in the Otmo games, and yeah, the guys are totally, completely hooked on her. Astrid tells Elsa the dress is made for her, and she can't help noticing everything's unfolding like clockwork. Ever since that moment, Frederick strides over and calls out to Astrid, demanding to know if the person standing next to her is a friend. Astrid brings Elsa straight to Frederick, and for the first time her shoulders drop relief hits. Satisfaction follows because she's finally cleared the first hurdle of her plan, and by pulling Elsa through Varia, she's dodged that brutal push of fate that usually decides everything for her. She clocks Elsa as the real heroine of this whole drama and secretly wants Frederick to finally notice her. Then Frederick turns to Elsa with a polite, reassuring smile, telling her to go out there and enjoy herself. She slips past her, closes the distance to Astrid, and demands a private word. It instantly clicks why Frederick isn't all starry-eyed for Elsa, and with a swift burst of speed, she darts up and tells him she needs to meet everyone, then asks, with perfect manners, if he'll escort Elsa. Elsa shoots after Frederick, shouting his name and urging him on as he backs away. He tells him to chase Astrid, saying he truly wants to talk to her and making it crystal clear that if he doesn't, he'll end up regretting it. Frederick's cheeks turn pink as he gives her a quick, heartfelt thank you for the advice. Later, Astrid stands on the balcony, totally sure Frederick won't find her until the twist hits her. With wide, pleading eyes, he shows up and demands she wait no matter what she says. Frederick admitted the only thing he wanted was to talk to her. Nick's first words hit Astrid like a sudden wave, freezing her for a split second. He tells her that no matter the weather or what magic she chooses to study, everything she does is backed by a rare power that hooks people's hearts and lights them up. Astrid keeps it to herself that Frederick should be talking to the real heroine, but she's cut off before she can finish. She admits she'll have to deal with it too, then doubts creep in fast like, can he really become the next Emperor Frederick? Eric snaps his gaze to her, stunned because she's reading his thoughts like they're right out in the open. Astrid tells him, I get the weight you're carrying being the son of a wildly charismatic military commander, yet you're still a man who chooses peace. She's convinced every single person has their own special spark, and if you nurture them, they'll bulldoze through every obstacle in your way. Frederick leans in, eyes locked as her insight hits hard, and he grips his hands tight, steady, and gentle, because yeah, she's the real deal, seriously fascinating. He asks if she'll keep offering her counsel for years to come, and Astrid flashes a subtle smile because she can already feel him drifting towards someone more fitting. She knows she still has her own path to forge, so with her modern weapons blazing and pure determination in her heart, she's ready to carve a victory of her own and stop destruction dead in its tracks.